nut jobs and fanatics of piano. Welcome back again. You'll have to forgive me for last week. I was a little bit, I was tired. We had 6 o'clock mass over at St. Paul's last week, so I'm back today. Okay, I'm pumped up with coffee and I'm ready to go.
Good.
Oh, and by the way, this is Mark.
And this is Elmer.
And we are
PSI, Piano Scene Investigations. And I would like to welcome back our boys from summer camp.
Hello, this is Igor. I'm so happy to be back with my uncles, Uncle Emma and Uncle Mark. We have a really fun time in the summer camp, and we make lots of jokes and have a good time. Yes, this is Grobu, and we had very good time. We especially missed Uncle Emma, and all of the boys at the summer camp say, "Oh, we love Uncle Emma, and we wish he was here." Wow. So, but we're very happy to be back, and we're happy to see you, and we make certain comments about the music when we know things.
Wow.
So there you go.
Well, I'm glad to hear it.
I'm just holding this up here.
So, anyways, we've had quite a busy week, folks. How about, was your week busy? I guess you were.
Well, actually, yeah, I want to show people this again, but
I'll
do it when we get to it. But
okay.
I haven't had time to attend to. I had certain things I had to do, and then there's a lot of musical things. Past week, especially. We did a performance out in New York, Ohio. Then some new things coming up. So,
I see.
It's Oktoberfest is coming up soon. So, this past Tuesday, I ran a really rigorous rehearsal. Guys love this, apparently. Most of them. Some of the old timers say, "Well, it's a little on-string. It's a little stressful."
Yeah.
The new guys really digging in, and they love it. Because they do what they call Wurst beer repertoire, which they tend to sing at these events and things. And there's 6 weeks and invitations almost every weekend. Wow. I think for things here and farther afield to go sing. So it's a mission for the guys.
For the guys, I get it.
Both to spread the wonders of German choral music.
Yes.
And then to drink as much beer as they possibly can in a month today.
Oh, God. So, well, anyways, what's going on with my life? Well, as you all well know, I teach piano lessons. I play at the Bon Mar store 3, sometimes 4 days a week. But this summer has been very exceptional. We've had pianists go on vacation, so I've been putting some really extra man hours. Now, I also play at St. Paul's Church, St. Paul's Church Choir, actually. I'm their accompanist. So recently, I was called in to speak with the new music choir director this week. And, we were going to go through the game plan as to how we were going to conduct choir rehearsals. So, anyway, so I come in, and lo and behold, it's not just the music director and I, but there was a third person involved. We walk into a side room inside the church. There's a table set with three chairs. Choir director on one side, third party over there, and me on the other side. And already I know what's coming. Sad to say that I will no longer be employed at St. Paul's Choir this year. I don't know. I don't think I'll be coming back.
Oh.
So,
oh man, I'm sorry to hear about that.
Thanks, Mark.
So this guy's an organist or something?
Yeah, the new director is an organist. He's a fine organist, probably a fine musician as well.
Yeah.
He's coming off a stint from the Vatican.
Ouch.
Actually, so he was there at the Vatican, but because of health reasons, he had to come back to the States. So somebody had to go. Well, rather than, I mean, this is no put down on the hospitals over in Italy, but they preferred to be nearer to relatives and family here in the States, so that's why they came back. So, anyways, much love and luck to the St. Paul's Choir. Do what you've always done. We built this whole music program together. Okay, well, I should say music program. We should call it the music ministry. So I've been there for, I'm going to say, at least 10 years.
Wow.
At least 10 years. We made some great music together. We had some very, memorable moments. So I won't forget them. It came to a shock, really, because when I first arrived, over to St. Paul, it was interesting. Kathy actually brought me back to the church, so we're sitting there at in church during the Advent season, and I noticed the organist was playing some Franck, and he was actually playing quite well. It was the Prelude, Fugue, and Variation by Franck for solo organ. And so after Mass was over, I went over to speak with the organist. I said, I really liked your Franck, and he was taken aback that I actually knew the piece. And so we talked briefly, and I didn't say anything, but Kathy, blurted out, says, Elmer's a pianist. So if you're ever looking for a piano accompanist, he's your man. He's a fine, so she basically praised me right in front of him and told him everything I'd played. And surprisingly, she knows a lot of the pieces that I've played. And so, anyways, a few weeks later, I'm getting calls to see if I could substitute for their official church accompanist. And so, needless to say, a friendship was formed between the former music director and I. So, we built a lot. We set standards very high. I mean, he upped his game, and I upped my game. And pretty soon, the choir had to up their game. So it was a good 10 years. It was a good run. So meanwhile, I hope you all watched our last episode, episode 29, 0029. A little bit of a detail about the last episode that maybe some of the one piece of information was rather erroneous. We talked about Alan Mandel, remember?
Yeah, the pianist for the Ives.
Yeah, the man not only recorded Ives, he also recorded a lot of Gottschalk and MacDowell as well.
So he's an American composer pianist.
Basically, yeah. I sort of confused him with another pianist, Alan Marks, and he's the one that does all the list. Because I thought he had done list CDs, but it was actually Alan Marks. So My mistake. But anyways, since this is going to be episode 30, this might be a whole new segment we're introducing.
Uh-oh.
I wanted to bring in some stuff here that are not piano. Okay, so maybe we could call it PSI's guilty pleasures or something. But anyways, here we go. That's why I brought in the extra bag. You might like this. So this is sort of like quasi show and tell.
So this is a new thing?
I don't know. It could be. You want me to introduce it?
And you know what you're going to call it? Then I'll have to pick out music.
Do you want to call it guilty pleasures?
Yeah, that could be fun.
That could be fun.
You going to start with that?
I don't know. I guess so. When he smiles like that, I get scared.
This is the guy.
You should see the smile on
This guy
face, like the devil.
skips the appetizers and the steak and booze and goes straight for the action.
Oh God. Okay, so all right. You want to call it PSI guilty pleasure?
Sure. And that's
Okay.
it, yeah.
All right.
Okay, guys, cover your eyes.
Yeah. All right. So.
You're going to have to do that now every time.
Well, probably. So, our new segment for the show, and we just came up with this just now. Welcome to PSI Guilty Pleasures.
Okay. Well, this is
I hope this is not leading to something that we're going to regret later. This is going to be so bad. You don't stop!
Okay, we're back. So I will take care of this in the film. These guys will have little sunglasses or something on. So
Yeah, okay. Sorry, guys, but this is not for your eyes only.
Yeah.
So I brought in an extra bag, okay? In case you're wondering, the usual bag I usually bring in is this one.
Which has
Okay.
what on?
I'm sorry?
Look at the picture.
Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to show this because this is a recent show.
Okay, I get it.
Okay, so
That's
just remember this is a white bag, okay? So
and this one's a less white.
this one is a less white bag. It's got, well, I don't know. What do you call it? It looks kind of guilty pleasure, sort of.
Okay.
Okay, so anyways, I wanted to bring...
HRS is his royal sex shop.
Oh, God. All right.
Okay, this has always been when they ask me when I'm doing the editing, is this show for children? And we always say, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Now, for, mature and gifted adolescents, there's nothing that we do on here, which is...
I know.
But, whoa, man, if it is designed to include children in the audience, lots of hoops to skip through.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of things, as it should be,
Yeah.
to protect kids, because there's so much crap out there.
Okay, so this first couple things here are movies.
Ooh.
All right, now, yeah,
Oh,
not X-rated.
oh,
So, but we did talk about these people before. Okay, so the first one here, and I had just found these recently.
oh, Florence! I love it.
Florence. Refresh my memory who this lady is.
Florence Foster Jenkins was the heiress to a big railroad fortune. And I believe she moved to New York City. I forget where they came from. But, she established herself as a lady of prominence in society. And she actually had some training early on in vocal training.
Okay, so she was a singer.
Well, she figured herself a singer, and she was a great benefactor of the Opera Society in New York, things like that.
Oh,
and they threw big parties and stuff, and at her home and then played elsewhere. And it became common for her, at least once a year for a number of years, she would do a public recital in, like Carnegie Hall, the small hall, or someplace like that.
Yeah.
And she would do various songs and arias, and it was quite a Liberace type of show, because what was famous was that for each song, she would have to disappear off stage and come back out in another dress.
Outfit.
Another outfit, yeah.
All right.
You know, that's kind of the thing that goes back into the centuries before with the aristocrats and stuff. But
Wow.
anyway, there are some recordings. You can see these on YouTube. I learned about her. I think I became part of the FFJ club at Colorado in Boulder. I think that's when I first kind of learned about it. Not until my doctorate. The other people, of course, knew about it forever, but she's a tragicomedic historical personage. Of course, the gay community absolutely adores her
Oh.
because, you know, all the costumes and just everything. And they make fun of her, very snide, but at the same time, there's a great, almost love for her, you know. God bless her. She's a real hero, you know. She did something she loved so much. The woman could not sing.
Oh, gosh.
And notoriously, really bad. But
How bad is it?
you've never heard her?
I have never heard
I'll
her.
play some for you when we're done. Just little snippets.
Okay. Let me show the.
There's also
Sure
on
is.
one of the CDs that was produced, which is Florence Foster Jenkins, and it's a collection of her solo performances that she recorded. There's a wonderful group of music from Gounod's Faust called A Faust Tragedy. And this was done, I think, in the 30s or 40s. This man and woman walked into forget whose recording studio it was in New York City. You know, that kind of thing used to be like that. You could go in, you plug some money down, you want to go in and record something.
Yeah.
Well, and there were, of course, people on staff, so there's a pianist. It was NBC or something like that, recording studio kind of place. And you could walk in off the streets and just pay and do this stuff. And they do some of the great art. Now, the woman is not bad. I'd say potentially you're like a really decent soprano in a church choir.
Okay.
All right, so she does the Jewel aria, Margarita and stuff.
Oh boy.
The guy who sings Faust. Let's put it this way. He has a more trumpet-like Delmonico kind of voice, but with a kind of Elmer Fuddism.
No.
So if you can imagine Elmer Fudd and Mario Delmonico put together, I'll play some of it for you.
Oh,
It's
boy.
called The Faust Tragedy, and there's a few arias and duets from that opera. That's paired with the FFJ recordings.
Kill the rabbit. Kill the rabbit.
Whoa, 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 oh, Margarita,
Margarita.
something like that.
It'd be more like Margarita.
I mean, it's like one of those things. What do they call it? I had a class, religious symbolism in literature,
Okay.
but not necessarily meant to be like Christian literature. It was at Wittenberg University, which is a Lutheran school. This is my freshman class. It was a really interesting class. For example, we did C.S. Lewis,
Right.
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe stuff, and all these kind of symbols. And my final papers, I took the entire collection of all the books and went through and just enumerated every possible biblical symbol or reference that I could find in stuff. But there's a word, I'm not remembering it exactly. It starts with numinous. Numinous experience. As I recall, an aspect of it is there's a horror about it or something so terrible about it, but you cannot help but witness it. You cannot help but look and watch. And so the most common thing is a violent automobile accident.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's like trying to see.
Yeah.
You know, and they're going to be disgusted if they really see.
Yeah.
movie stuff. But anyway, listening to her sing and listening to the Faust tragedy is a numinous experience. You cannot help yourself but just be drawn in. Like you hear it in the first one, oh my God. But then you
How
find
long
yourself,
is it?
listen, it's a full CD.
The whole CD?
It's a whole CD of her stuff, and then there's about 15 minutes of the Faust stuff on the other.
Wow.
But the movie's wonderful.
You've seen this.
Meryl Streep. Oh God, yeah. Meryl Streep did a fabulous job. It's a wonderful, fair recreation of the whole thing. I think it's very true to her biography. She had some people that really loved her and really cared about her.
Yeah.
And they protected her.
Yeah.
Like, never let newspapers come in with
Yeah.
reviews and stuff.
Okay.
And then, of course, you know, some people who are part of the wealthy crowd are not actually, they don't have an ear for shit.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know nothing about art and music and stuff. But they're the ones that often have the noses highest up in the air to hide their ignorance, you know. Because they don't know what's good or bad, you know. I mean, this is like some towns where you go. I was in Colorado one time. God love him. I know he's a hero to a lot of people, but Menachem Presley came to play the F minor Chopin concerto with Colorado Symphony.
Well,
it was not a good night for him.
oh boy.
His memory slips, and I mean, there's some places just where Chopin wasn't anywhere on the stage
Oh
as a
God.
composer. I mean, he was like filling things in and making stuff up. It was dreadful.
Wow.
You know, he was older, and but he was doing that. He was going out and doing performances
Oh, yeah.
like that as a soloist. And I'm sure some were better than others, but that was a bad night for him. I mean, to be honest, I don't play by memory that much anymore. I long ago liked to use the score, and there was a great German pianist I took my signs from. His name was Gerhard Oppitz.
Yeah.
He plays with the
Oh,
score. And I'm often not looking at it, but it just helps,
Yeah.
you know, calm me down. Maybe that it's there. I mean, and Schoenberg always said, if you can't rewrite it, if you can't sit down and rewrite the thing with every musical little minutiae on the page, you don't have it memorized. You're playing an impression of what you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he'd spent his, you know, years with the Bozart Trio, played fabulously.
Oh yeah.
Amazing performances of the chamber music repertoire, but the music's up there, you know.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, it was a notoriously bad performance.
Wow. So.
And even his student,
Yeah.
who I won't mention, who was teaching at Boulder at the time, when we saw each other, I said, I'm really sorry for you. And he said, thank you. He said, not a good night for him. And yet, when it was done, the audience stood up and gave him a standing ovation.
Wow.
And I immediately flashed on hearing that, famously, I don't know, it's something very small, but there have only been 2 or 3 standing ovations in Polish concert history. Poles are very sophisticated music people. One was when Paderewski had come back to Poland, and then he became the president, but he gave a concert, and they stood up and they gave him a standing ovation.
Wow.
Another time had to do with Rubinstein.
Oh
At some
gosh.
point when he came back. But apparently you can count standing ovations in Poland on less than 2 hands, or no more, something like that.
Yeah.
Historically, supposedly. Denver was just like, hooray, this is a famous pianist, and he just played the concerto. We don't know shit. We know the price of cattle, though, buddy.
Oh, God.
We know what a gun will cost you at the gun show when the guy's overcharging. We don't know shit about Chopin, but hey, yeah, all right. You know, we get to stand up and say it. So that's what people sometimes did for her. You know? And some people, well, there's a scene in the movie, which is wonderful, where the guy, I don't know if he's from the paper or something like that, but he's caught in this and listening to it. And he's just going, oh my God, I'm just doing this. But then what's more astonishing to him is the audience response at the end of the concert. They just get up and stand up and shout, stomping their feet and everything. And he's like looking around him, and he gets up and starts laughing because he's the only one sitting in the chair.
Oh.
So anyway, I talked a lot about that because if you don't know Florence Foster Jenkins, in a sense, this little boy, he's not completely had his manhood exposed to the musical world. I mean, if you're part of the Inside Club, and they call her FFJ.
Okay.
And it is more of an inside opera thing. So if you haven't hung around with a ton of singers, and especially gay opera students and singers,
all right,
then you may have missed being exposed to it. But another thing is their accompanist famously on the recordings, and I don't know if it's the guy's name for sure.
All right.
Cosmo McMoon.
Cosmo McMoon? No.
Go figure. And the guy can play. But sometimes just because of what she does, there's some he had to speed up, or there's like crash and burn moments. And I think it's, he's responding to what she's doing. I don't know. But one of the funny stories was, then the woman had money,
Okay, yeah.
And she used to have a huge basket of flowers, roses.
Yeah.
And so she would sing one of her arias,
Yeah.
and then she would throw the roses into the audience. Hey, you get a rose.
Wow.
Like that kind of thing. And then as she went back stage and took a little time to change her costume, come out for the next one. In the meantime, Cosmo took the basket and went out into the audience and collected the flowers.
Really?
For the next performance, for the next number.
Oh, God.
So she made good use of that basket of roses.
Do you think that's him? Is that him?
Yes, I think it is because
he's with the flowers.
Hugh Grant is her ex-husband, or husband, and then they split.
Okay, yeah, that's what they said in the back.
I thought the film was, oh my God, the costumes and the cinematography and the time.
Yeah.
I mean, the streets of New York and everything. This is earlier 20th century.
Okay.
I mean, in the 20s, like really.
1920s?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a luxurious film to see. In the house that she lives in or where she sings in places, you really get to see that kind of life in America at that time.
The Roaring Twenties.
We saw a totally different show recently, but I won't get into it so much, but just the topic was America's an egalitarian society where there's supposed to be equality amongst everybody. And, I mean, more recent history has demonstrated no. That there is classicism here, just like there's anywhere. But what's really astonishing is before the Great Depression of the 30s, and going back, let's say going back to the 19th century, America did not have a national tax system until the presidency of Woodrow Wilson, going into the later teens of the 20th century.
Yeah, I remember that.
Historically,
it was 1916.
This was not really the reason. It was a historic falsehood that was given as an argument for what caused the American Revolution. Mm-hmm. There's a famous story that these white guys dressed as Indians broke into these British ships that were bringing tea into the U.S. in New York Harbor. And they chopped them all up, threw them out into the water. And it was a protest against the extraordinary tax that they put on tea. But what I learned otherwise, what really happened, caused issues. England in the mid-18th century, going into the later part of the 18th century, was in really serious financial trouble. They overextended themselves pretty badly. I think part of it had been due to wars that they've been involved in and such. But King George II and then King George III were kind of in deep shit in terms of the money situation.
Wow.
Benjamin Franklin traveled as a colonialist to England, and of course he was famous for going to France. And under was it under Jefferson's presidency? Jefferson himself was the first ambassador to France, and then I think, I'm not sure, but I think under Jefferson, Franklin was the official ambassador. I've looked this up, but he certainly was well known in France, and a lot of that was because he was a Mason.
Yeah.
And he was, the American Masons are derived from the London-based Masonic order, and then there's an Orient order that's in France. But Franklin knew his way through those a lot.
Yeah.
So, but when he was in England, while they were hurting, I mean, the aristocrats, everybody was having trouble with the economy in England. And, just casually, and of course he was in these privileged settings with other Masons and high-level English people and stuff like that. How is it that you guys are doing so well over in the colonies? We have colonial script. We try to keep the money available for the needs of the people. So if we have needs for money, we print more money and we make it available so everybody's got some money. And then they can afford to buy the things that they need, and it keeps the law of, what do you call it? It's available and you buy it.
Yeah.
Something, I forget what it's called.
Distribution, consumer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're able to print that money based upon the needs of the economy and just keep things, pretty steady. Well, England knew that with the North American colony, what they had at that time, and France had much, and England had some. There's resources there. There's a wonderful movie about George III. The Madness of King George III, right?
Yeah.
Magnificent movie. Poor guy suffered, the madness part. He suffered from, I think it started as a P. But it was an illness, a blood illness that also affected his pee. And he eventually healed his way out of it. But it would cause him to have terrible hallucinations and crazy moments and kind of drive him nuts. And then he became incontinent for periods of time where he was peeing himself. And then people thought he was crazy out of it.
Yeah.
But eventually he makes it out of it. But there's a scene where after the war is over, 1776, 1782, right? 82.
Something like that.
Right? I think it was 8 years. 84, perhaps. Yeah. It wasn't 10 years. But anyway, he's with his Lord Chancellor and just kind of collapses into his chair and speaking in a very loving way about North America. So all those pristine forests and the beautiful land and everything. He said something the way England herself used to be. Just beautiful, untamed, virgin creation of God and all of that. We lost it. He thought of it as personal backyard, as the king, Well, what we didn't have at that time, nobody found any gold in the eastern United States to speak of, right? So after Franklin's trip, he came back, and this is only more recent thinking historically. It's not like you blame Benjamin Franklin for this. He just met with people and said, this is what's going on, this is how we're solving the situation over there. Well, the king figured, we've got all those resources over there, and all the people, a lot of people are voluntarily going to America because there's lots of possibilities.
Right.
They were in control of the big important stuff if need be and would be. So one of the laws that the king passed was that they placed our currency on gold standard. We didn't have next to any gold.
Right.
And so suddenly, that was America's, at that time, I don't know about 100 years before, but it was a rough start in this country. But that was the first Great Depression. And it was, again, a bank-caused depression.
Yeah.
Because then they said, suddenly where people have been able to, live reasonably well. Everybody had a chicken in their pot and a roof on their house, and were able to do their work and everything. There was 100% employment. Suddenly, there's families sitting out in the dirt roads, evicted from their homes. They lost their land. The fathers can't take care of their family or their children, and all really morbidly bad. Farmers losing stuff and everything like that. And that's what pissed off the colonists.
Wow.
Because they had known, right within a short period of time, they had known equanimity, and some people a bit more plenty.
Yeah.
But nobody was like out on the streets or begging. There was 100% employment. Everybody could get a job, and you get paid for it, all that. And then no. So that's kind of how things got started. But my point about this was seeing this stuff is that because of this business about taxes and everything, Americans had a real thing about taxation from the government. And I don't know how. I mean, we just continued to move west, and of course, the Indians had to pay the price for that and all this. Yeah. Plus, we had slavery for quite a bit of time. Blacks had to pay for that in a sense. But clearly, I mean, America grew like crazy, and then began to access resources that it was finding, all kinds of things. The lumber out west, and then they started to understand the gold rush in 1845 in California. All kinds of things, and then eventually, later on in our history, when oil became something of importance in the early 20th century. Yeah. And there's tons of that down in Oklahoma and Texas and Louisiana. It wasn't until the meeting of Jekyll Island, which is in Georgia, that these bankers got together and put together what has become the Federal Reserve, which, despite its name, is a private independent banking system separate from any true federal control. It's not a government agency. It's run by a hierarchy of a certain number of board members from the great banks in the United States. And at that point, they instituted the first income tax. So it was around, I don't know if it started before the First World War, but certainly by then. That's one of the ways we helped pay for the war, was the income tax. And it's been like that ever since. So anyway, that's my big thing about that. But the really amazing thing is you get to see the kind of lifestyle that still exists, in certain ways. Yeah. But more ridiculously opulently. I mean, I don't think, let's put it this way. Back in those days, in the early 20th century, America kind of loved to see, we all figured, that we believed in this myth, I think. If you work hard and you really drive yourself and everything, you could be up there too.
You could be. You could be.
I think it's a little more...
The main word, could be.
I think it's a little more tricky than that, really, the reality. Yeah. But people believed that, and so, a lot of movies in Hollywood and everything, it was all about the upper class. Yeah. Then I thought it was really interesting in the 70s. One of the most popular police shows ever in history, Columbo. Now, who are the perpetrators of crime in Columbo? Every show
is rich.
The rich people.
Yeah.
Rich people killing each other and everything. And I said to Laura back when we were watching it at some point, we were watching the series. I said, I was another rich person getting in trouble, Columbo's coming in with that green cigar and that old cheap Mercedes Benz, whatever it was. And the trench coat. And the trench coat. And
you're getting ready to leave it because I...
Yeah.
One more question.
Exactly. And he was just like tearing up the rich
Yeah.
people in San Francisco, man.
Yeah. For some of you younger people, Columbo was a detective. He was
Was it?
on every Sunday night.
Peter Falk.
Peter Falk. You'll know him as,
Amazing characterization, one of the best.
Yeah, you'll know him if you watched also Princess Bride. He plays the
That's
grandfather of what's
Well,
his
and
face?
then
What?
what was that Neil Diamond movie, which was based on like 10 Little Indians? Murder something. Where all the famous.
Murder on the Orient Express.
No. They come to this house.
It's a
And
Neil Diamond movie?
yeah, it was a Neil Diamond. Wasn't that not Neil Diamond? Neil Simon.
Neil Simon. Oh, Clue.
Murder. Well, it's like Clue or something like that. It's called Murder something. I'll look it up.
Okay.
But there are all these historically famous detectives.
Yeah.
They're invited to this mansion.
Yeah.
Spooky mansion. And they have to solve the murder that's going to happen that night.
Yeah.
The guy's still alive, but then he gets murdered.
Yeah.
And they need to solve who it is. And he's going to say, I'm the best. You guys are like awful. You know, so like Peter Falk is in the film. But he plays the 1940s detective, who, just like the famous noir with his studio and the secretary.
Sounds like Mickey Spillane or something.
That kind of thing, okay?
Yeah.
And they're all in it. And as it turns out, I think it's the really great part. I don't know if he's the guy who actually makes fun of all of them at the end. Ends up being Truman Capote.
Oh, God.
The character, the actor.
Yeah,
actor.
Okay.
It's a hilarious film. But Peter Falk is not.
Yeah.
Peter Falk is a genius, I think.
Oh, yeah.
He's a great, great actor. But anyway, that kind of took us astray there. But
Yes.
I love that movie. Thank you
Yes.
for showing that.
Sure, no problem. Oh, incidentally, on a side note, there's a possibility before Columbo came out that character actually existed before that show.
Really?
Oh, yeah. The detective in the movie The Exorcist.
Oh, you're right.
There's a possibility.
The guy with the cigar and the
Yeah.
trench coat.
Yeah. The
You
dude,
think that's where the
mustache.
inspiration came from?
that according to some sources, okay, I'm not saying it's true, okay, I'm not saying it's true, but they do sort of, you know,
Where was the Exorcist supposed to occur?
Washington D.C.
Oh, okay. So, no.
No. Okay, so our next guilty pleasure. Okay, we talk about this person as well, very much, and you youngins will know who this person is. Maybe not, but it is Mikhail Baryshnikov.
Oh.
So take a good look at it.
So this is a documentary.
It's a documentary.
Where are you getting all this stuff?
Well, partially over book sales, partially over thrift stores. This is a DVD.
You found all this recently? Or it's stuff
Well,
you
it's
had?
been stuff that one I found. This one, no, this one's in the archives. I'm still cleaning up, but I told you I had this. Okay, this is, you'll get to see footage of him warming up as a student. He was like a kid, like 18.
Oh my God,
maybe
he's so
16.
young here.
Yeah, he was.
With the rare archival footage of Anna Pavlova.
Yeah.
Now, she was one of the famous ones for the early 20th
Oh, yeah.
century.
So that's why I had to
Oh,
pick
there
it up.
she is.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, but we keep bringing his name up whenever we talk about.
Baryshnikov.
Uh,
I mean, Baryshnikov became
yeah.
such a hero in America in many ways, you know.
Oh yeah.
And he really embraced the country. He was really did some cool stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
White Knights.
I do not have White
Okay,
Knights.
so one of my favorite movies
Oh, White Knights.
is White
Oh
Knights
wow.
with
Yeah.
him and
Gregory
Hines.
Hines and
Some of the
Isabella
dancing-
Rossellini.
Some of the dancing stuff they do together is, oh my God, it almost makes me cry when I watch them because
Yeah.
who could think that human beings could do
Do
that?
that.
Nowadays, I mean, CGI could do anything.
Oh yeah.
Computer generated
Yeah.
animation.
But even Gregory Hines was inhuman. What he did in this
Yeah.
movie.
Oh my
Amazing.
God, amazing dancing.
Yeah.
He shows up eventually for a while as Will's boss in Will and Grace, and he and Grace have a relationship together.
Really?
And he dances a few times in the show.
Oh,
At some point in their apartment.
Yeah.
And then there's even one time when he gets up on the conference table and dances a bit. The guy was incredible.
Wow. Well, my earliest recollection of Mikhail Baryshnikov was seeing him on a segment of 60 Minutes. And he was sitting there, on a stool, and he's having an interview, and, he's like this. He's got a cigarette,
Right.
He's smoking, and basically he was a chain smoker. He'd smoke up to a whole pack a day.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, he's just like this, and he looks bored. And whoever was interviewing him, I think it was Mike Wallace.
Right.
So he's sitting there, and one of the things I wanted to know about him because I heard his name so many times, in
He was the rebel.
School. And so, basically, yeah. So he's sitting there, and one part of the question in the interview, he asks about the ballet, the arts, and he says, what does he say? He says, it's just a job.
Yeah.
He says, ballet. He says, it's just a job to you. He says, he goes out, yes, it's a job. And so that's what he says. So I was taken aback. I wanted to hear what he had to say about the arts, is what I wanted to hear. And he doesn't say anything about it. He says it's just a job. So fast forward about 30 to 40 years later, he's back on 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
And he's back on the same stool, and he's not smoking. He's an older gentleman now. And they play that clip on the screen. And so Mike Wallace asks him, so, do you still consider ballet just a job? He says, he looks up at the screen, oh, he's a schmuck. He says, no. He says,
There's so many wonderful things. Was that movie?
Yeah.
He did a bunch of things like
Oh,
that.
yeah, he did.
He got into Hollywood stuff, but there's
yeah.
a great period of time, the latter part of Sex and the City.
Mm-hmm.
What was her name? The actress.
Oh, God.
Plays,
I didn't watch the
she's
show.
married to
Is it Sarah Jessica Parker?
Sarah Jessica Parker, yeah.
Okay.
She has a relationship with Baryshnikov's character. He's actually, I forget what he does professionally. Oh, he's a painter.
Oh,
He's a big-time international painter.
all right.
And this is the last part of Sex and the City. I think he's the last lover before she finally gets together with Big, the businessman. Who they really love each other and stuff. But oh my God, he I think he danced a little bit in there. But I know what it was when he races down the streets of one of the streets in New York City to catch a cab. And he's only just running, but he's running in shoes.
Yeah.
And he's like, that guy probably could have been an athlete. I mean,
Wow. Oh, yeah. Well,
it's amazing because that's just part of it. He's all dressed up beautifully, and he's always a very handsome guy.
Oh, yeah.
And he was taxiing. Something happened. Oh, I know. She left something in the cab, and she said, oh, no, I left my purse in the cab or something. He goes roaring down the street and slaps the back of the cab and opens the back door before it's even stopped.
Yeah.
And reaches in and grabs her purse, and then he comes running back to her. And she's going like, wow. I never saw that.
Yeah.
But it's just a little moment. And the guy was like in his 60s, I think.
Yeah, probably was.
When he did it,
Yeah.
Oh my God. You hate people like that, right? Sorry about that.
Baryshnikov, he appeared in The Turning Point. Remember that one?
Yeah.
With Shirley MacLaine and
Yep.
What was her? And I can't remember her last name now.
The one who, I know.
The one that gets married. Or
Yeah.
Shirley MacLaine actually gets married. The other one decides to stay in ballet.
Yeah.
And they sort of resent each other.
Yeah.
One has something, the other one doesn't.
Right.
So, but that was interesting.
First time I ever saw it was in
Yeah.
the Nutcracker.
And that's another thing.
New York.
They play Chopin's Aeolian Etude in the thing, the harp etude. You all know it. I get requested that one too. of the store. Let's see. And you're right about White Knights, but there was another movie that was kind of interesting. He played KGB against opposite Gene Hackman, who was CIA.
Really?
Yeah, that was a really interesting. It's an action film, and the two of them are supposed to be offing each other.
Remember the title?
I don't remember the time. I have the movie somewhere, okay? But they wind up confronting each other, only to find out later on where they're switching information to each other. They add 2 and 2 together to find out that both their cousins are trying to off them.
Yeah.
And so they're both fugitives, basically. And so they're just trying to survive.
Each other, probably.
And so, so it was from what I remember, it was a pretty exciting film.
This is a big deal. I mean, every time that we got a Russian dancer to defect to the United States, I mean, before him it was Rudolf Nureyev.
Oh yeah,
he was amazing. Because very different people. Nureyev was a giant.
Oh
he was like way over 6 foot, and yet he could really propel himself. Baryshnikov's short. He's probably like 5'8".
Yeah,
5'10"
yeah, he's not that tall, but boy, the guy can fly.
He could have. I mean, you see him a whole his height.
Yeah.
It seems above the stage.
Yeah,
leaping across the stage. And the really cool thing was, I know it's a trick that they do.
Yeah.
Where he keeps his legs open and spread out as far as possible.
And then
it's like, what do you call that, the high bar thing, when you take the
pole vault?
Javelin pole vaulting.
Yeah.
And you have to do that with your body.
Yeah.
Get over it. You have to kind of control it and freeze it and don't let yourself collapse, because if you hit the bar, it doesn't count. They do that in ballet, and he was superb at that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he'd go flying across the stage in one of these leaps. And it was just like the extra second or two that before he'd start to come down, people just erupt in immediate cheers and stuff. And then he'd do another one across the stage, just amazing.
He did it every single time, folks. So, but I consider him a great artist.
Well, you can look up Baryshnikov.
Yeah.
I've never been a monster fan of ballet.
No,
not really.
Not really.
But sometimes it's not. Well, let's put it this way. And I was always kind of short.
Yeah.
Not always this big, and I was actually a really good foul shooter.
Oh yeah.
Basketball, I could really, and pool too. I could really hit the hole.
Wow.
Pretty good at that. I don't know if I had the wherewithal to do a 3-pointer. That's pretty far, pretty long.
Yeah.
But I could usually. I bet I had 80 to 85% anywhere. Regular basket shots from the foul line.
That's impressive.
I practiced a lot, but then when I get on regular basketball, forget layups and shit. It's too short. But what am I saying about? Especially when we lived in Japan, it happened to be the end times for the great Chicago Bulls basketball team.
Yeah.
And they won the last championship and all that. This was especially the last year that they were all together as the great team.
Yeah.
With Rodman and all those guys, right?
Yeah.
And the one Serbian guy was on it too. And we got to watch. I got to watch that year. Michael Jackson. No, Michael Jordan.
Jordan. Yeah.
Michael Jordan played basketball. I immediately started to think of Baryshnikov. It was amazing. The guy would go in amongst these massive trees from the Lord of the Rings or something, all around him.
Yeah.
And he'd be going around like this, and poof!
Yeah.
And spring out from the whole forest of trees, and just put it in, and twirling and stuff sometimes.
Oh, yeah,
like a ballet dancer.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what,
it's one of the most beautiful physical demonstrations I've ever seen.
On an interview, Michael Jordan said, he says, "Is there anything you would never do on a basketball court?" And he said, "I'll never insult Larry Bird again." That's what he said.
Larry Bird was.
I would not.
Was he center for the Lakers or the Celtics?
He was a Celtics.
Celtics guy.
Celtics.
White guy.
Yeah.
And
he says, "Don't insult Larry Bird."
And a bit notoriously temperamental.
I thought that was great. Oh, that was great.
But oh my God, he was beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
That's something else you could watch. It's just scenes with Michael Jordan playing basketball.
Yeah. It's a thing of beauty.
And he had a different
Art.
He had a strange life too. You know, his father was murdered.
Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And I don't know if they ever solved it.
Wow.
And his dad was kind of in a not so good place, and they found him. I remember seeing the documentary about it, and he was in his heyday.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was trying to help his dad, stuff like that. But, you know, his dad, unfortunately, I think had some drug problems. And, yeah, you know, fame and glory and wealth doesn't prevent you from experiencing life.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway,
Okay.
that's cool. Very cool.
Yes. So, this is the last of one of my guilty pleasures.
Pleasures.
Yes, this is the last one. We talked about this in one of our pre-episodes, the ones that did not make it. This is the first ever on PSI, and probably the only time, we will have a CD recording from RCA Victor of Villa-Lobos' harmonica concerto.
What?
Yes, a harmonica concerto. Let me show it to the
Yeah.
viewers first. Here it
I'm
is.
totally surprised, but
Okay. And this, yes, I did find, well, of all places, I found this in Findlay, Ohio.
Robert Bonfiglio.
Yes.
Ooh, it's Gerard Schwartz.
It is Gerard
And
Schwartz.
New York Chamberson.
Yeah.
Wow. The harmonica concerto, and then they do the Bacchiat.
Yeah, Bachianas Brasileiras. Now, you'll notice that a lot of it is
Oh, this is all him.
Spanish. Oh, yeah, it's all him. A few of those pieces, maybe 3 or 4 of them, are him arranging, you know, some of the pieces for harmonica and orchestra.
Orchestrations by Robert Bonfiglio.
Yes.
Wow.
So he's an educated musician, a harmonica player, folks.
So,
Harmonica.
I mean, how does a person like that survive? Just from concert? Have you ever seen a professor of harmonica?
I have never seen a professor of harmonica. Never.
I would wonder too, like about when the pan flute came out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge. Who was that guy who was really famous for it?
Which one?
Doing like classical music pan flute playing. Ramfis? Was it the guy?
What instrument are we talking
The
about?
panpipe.
The panpipe.
You know,
Oh,
the violin.
Zamfir.
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 Yeah, Zamfir. And then also R. Carlos Nakai. He played native music on the flutes. Played different flutes.
I don't know.
You know Carlos Nakai? Wonderful stuff. Wow.
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder if those people like that could ever get. It would be kind of sad, especially in this day and age. I mean, let's make this impossible for them to talk.
Yeah.
Classical music has been embraced. Let's call it Western serious classical music. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Has been pretty much embraced by the world.
Oh, yeah.
There are practitioners, composers, performers, so forth all over the place. And clearly newer composers, going back to George Gershwin, really, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have embraced other forms of music. Ravel did too. I mean, jazz especially had a particular influence in France, earliest in Europe. And Ravel was one of the first people to use aspects of it.
Yeah.
It caught on then a little bit later in Germany. I don't think it ever did in England, per se, as mixing the two together. But the question would be is, this crossover kind of stuff, like back in the 80s and the 90s,
Oh, yeah.
Kerry Takano was famous for that,
Oh, yeah.
and one that got in trouble, Kathleen Battle.
Kathleen Battle.
She one of James Levine's beloved sopranos, amazing Mozart singer, but
Oh, yeah.
wow, a witch on a stick. Apparently,
Really? Did not know that.
she got banned by the Metropolitan Opera.
Wow. I did not know that.
But she did a lot of gospel
Gospel
stuff too
Yeah,
on the side.
of course.
Just wonder. Well, and then of course going down to South America, with somebody as far back as Villalobos,
Yeah.
you know, who wrote Pearl and the Bebe, which is the children's nursery
Yeah.
songs, and dedicated them to Dorothy
Dorothy
Rubenstein,
Rubenstein,
and played a bunch of them.
Not the only work.
No.
Have you heard of the Root Poema?
Yes.
Yes.
You wrote that for him as well.
I wrote that as
Yeah.
well. It's amazing.
Rubenstein was really embraced in South America by a number of countries.
Yeah.
But you wonder with people in this field, with these instruments, wouldn't there be room to explore the music that was written for these instruments? And then in certain cultures, one might argue, like Chile, Sidis, Claudio Arrau, and Buenos Aires, Argentina, Sidis, Daniel Barenboim.
Yeah. Don't forget Piazzolla.
And Piazzolla came out of Argentina. And earlier on,
Pianistera.
no, I'm thinking of the pianist, the woman. What's her name?
Guilherme
Guilherme
Novaes.
Novaes is from Brazil.
Brazil.
Right?
Yes.
Does everybody who comes out of some of these nativist or maybe not entirely traditional, serious Western classical music backgrounds have to make their statement on the piano or maybe on the violin? Can they not do it all? Piazzolla did it.
Piazzolla with
Bandoneon.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, maybe I look it up and see
Yeah.
if there's some bandoneon professorship at the University of Buenos Aires.
Yeah,
for
it's
example. I mean, at least locally in some place like that. But you'd think, like New York, definitely Los Angeles.
Oh yeah.
I don't know about Texas. Texas tends to be a little conservative, maybe. Texas,
never
because
know.
of their history, they have lots of Hispanic people there, and I'm sure they embrace them, and everybody lives together nowadays more or less happily.
Yeah.
But the original history of Texas was a bit anti-Hispanic, necessarily. You know, the Alamo and stuff like that. But LA, come on, I would think with Gustavo Dudamel having been there and all that, I think about some of these really great artists, like R. Carlos Nakai. I'd find something to give it to you to listen to. I saw him live a few times, two or three times in Tucson, because he used to live down in that area, and his ex-wife is, what do you call her? Well, she's Native American and Mexican Hispanic tradition. She's a curandera, kind of an herbal witch, does treatments and stuff like that. I don't know if she started in school or taught in school and stuff like that. I saw 2 or 3 performances with him down there, and sometimes he would play with orchestra.
Yeah.
And then I got this one CD I'll loan you.
Okay.
So you can listen to it. It's kind of new agey but native based music.
Yeah.
With a drummer, I forget what the guy's from, and guitarist. And I saw all 3 of these guys in a very famous, what was it called, St. Francis or not, Catholic church in Tucson. They played a concert. It was these same guys. But I'm just thinking about like certain people that played these instruments. For example, Maurice Andre, remember him?
Maurice Andre.
He played that little piccolo trumpet thing, right?
Yeah.
Did he ever need to have a teaching job?
Not really.
No, there's probably made enough money for filming it. But how do you teach? How do you pass along your knowledge and experience and your tricks of the trade?
Boy, that's a good question.
So, like, how do you take somebody like Zamfir and just think about how many boys and girls, to be fair, in Central and South America can easily get their hands on panpipes. Not so easily on a piano.
Yeah.
And maybe, study it seriously and maybe really do something with it. I mean, like Arthur Rubinstein finally started to teach in a way.
Yeah.
Later on in Israel, he did master classes. And he actually gave his time quite generously when he was able to. But he never really did teach. Not like Claude Frank, for example, or even Rudolf Verkushny, or
there are master classes,
or Joseph Levine, or people like that. Or Rosina.
Yeah.
Imagine the the two Levines, but especially Rosita, the influence she had on American pianists.
Oh, yeah.
Olga Samarov, and she was an American,
Yeah.
despite the name. But, I mean, she trained a legion of people, like Willie Capel, for example.
He did.
Who'd Fleischer study with?
Boy, that's a good question.
I looked that
I have
up.
to look that one up.
Because he was one of our great pianists. And Malcolm Bilson studied with Georgy Shandor. Malcolm Bilson, the forte pianist, from L.A.
That's an odd bet.
I studied with him, at different times when he was at Cornell. I was thinking about getting my doctorate in forte piano. Anyway, he...
Sorry, this device lost its connection.
That's okay. We don't care. She just wanted to horn in on the show. No, he said that. I remember him saying that. He's grown up out in L.A.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's where he studied with Georgy Shandor, but he said he just knew if he was going to be serious about studying and becoming a great classical pianist, he's going to have to get the hell out of Hollywood.
Oh, jeez.
So, I mean, imagine that. He becomes the kind of the father of the modern school of forte piano playing, and studied with one of the great Hungarian pianists, Georgy Shandor.
Doesn't get better.
And he came from L.A.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a guy less L.A. than Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, that's very interesting. And
Yes. Do you want to listen to it or later?
It would be okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll leave it here. So, anyways, this ends.
Was that all of it?
PSI's.
Our erotic pleasures. What was it called? Erotic pleasures? No, that wasn't erotic.
Guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasures.
So,
It's the same thing.
this might be the only time we'll wind up doing this.
Oh, I'm going to look for some great music.
Oh, you're going to look for some great
and
music.
symbols for this one.
Okay. So,
That was-
anyways, back to PSI again. Thank goodness. Guilty pleasures.
Oh, boys, you can take off your glasses.
Yeah, we don't have to.
Actually, the flute stuff was okay.
The flute stuff?
Well, actually,
harmonica.
So was the harmonica and the ballet.
Yeah.
Well, actually, none of it was really bad.
No, none of it's bad. I mean, like I said, I was intrigued by Baryshnikov. Growing up, and I was thinking after watching him on 60 Minutes as a kid, I thought, boy, what a pretty cool dude.
Yeah.
If he was a classical pianist, he'd be really rocking it.
Yeah, really hot.
Really, I mean, serious.
You know who reminds me of Nureyev nowadays? I don't know how much older they are now, but there's videos of these two blonde brothers. They're either French or Scandinavian, and they're playing the Poulenc Concerto for Two Pianos, for example.
Really?
Very handsome lads.
Uh-oh.
Blonde,
It's over.
cheekbones,
It's
hair
over.
and everything. And I can't remember if they're like, Norwegian or Swedish,
Oh, God.
or if they're French. I think they're Scandinavians and they were playing Poulenc, the French piano. It was really quite good. It was very interesting.
Well, you'll have to send me a link.
I'll
you
see
can
if I
find
can
it.
dig that up. I happened to find it one time when I was rooting around.
Okay, so folks,
Uh-oh.
uh,
What are we doing? I got a few things to share, too.
you do.
Yeah, I got a few things.
Oh, okay. For
One,
once.
well, I've got definitely the thrifter stuff. The other one, do we have a special thing where we talk about books that we're reading or looking at?
Yeah, undercover.
Oh, is that undercover?
Yeah.
Do you got any undercover? Or it's all just
Undercover.
thrifter?
Right now, I just right now it's stuck.
What was?
PSI movie.
Oh, okay. That's
That's
fine.
all right. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, it's cool. All right. Well, so
So the next segment?
the next segment. All right, just asking if any of you viewers could relate with this. Okay. I remember years ago, I think I may have been in junior high. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was junior high. Now, for some of you, it'll be middle school, okay? But back then, if you
You were
were
a junior.
junior high, you
It
call it
was 7th through 9th grade, right?
Okay, yeah,
7, 8,
7,
9.
7, 8, 9. That's what we called it in Findlay, Ohio back then.
Yeah.
Anyways, so okay, so I had this quasi crush on a flute player back in junior high.
Female?
Huh?
Female?
A flute player.
Not Ron Paul. Or did you have a crush on Ron Paul?
No,
Were you ever confused?
it was a girl.
Oh, okay. I like to play with you about that.
Okay, so
We still do
anyways.
the erotic pleasure thing? Or
No, this is-
leading to something else. Okay.
Okay.
This show definitely not made for kids.
All right, yeah, definitely not. So, anyways, I couldn't get to know the girl because
Well, she wasn't world famous.
no, she wasn't world famous.
Oh,
No, she wasn't world famous. It's just that I'd say hi, and she just kind of looked at me and went like this.
Thought you shy.
Yeah, she was very shy.
Oh.
So I would be like, I'd wonder, says, I'm going to lunch. He says, that class was hard. He said, because we had the same, math class. And he says, this was hard. Do you have any trouble with this? And she still wouldn't talk to me.
Oh. Kathy knows all about this, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. She remembers all of this.
Yeah,
So anyways, it was a situation where somehow, getting to know somebody, when the other person just didn't have the personality to come out of their shell or even relate with you. Which brings us to this next segment.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
PSI at the movies.
Okay.
You know it.
Mississippi.
You know it. Oh, I hear it.
Yeah, the boys are kind of
I didn't hear anything.
Oh.
Oh, there's a smell. Oh, I could almost eat it. Oh, I could almost feel it right here.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, PSI at the movies.
It's right there.
Now, before I bring this movie out, Mark,
Yes, sir.
I want you to be on your best behavior
Uh-oh.
when I bring this movie out.
Uh-oh.
All right. It is a French foreign film,
Uh-oh.
and you're going to have to forgive my French.
Uh-oh.
Un coeur en hiver.
Yeah.
Hiver.
Yeah.
Okay. It translates to
Heart in
English,
winter.
A Heart in Winter.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I can see it. All right.
I love French movies. Yeah. Un cœur en hiver.
Tell it to the viewers.
Un cœur en hiver.
Hiver. Okay, I'll show it to you. It got 2 thumbs up from Siskel and Ebert.
Yeah.
This is VHS, of course. It is probably out on DVD as well. And somewhere in the archives, I do have a soundtrack CD for this movie. It's very well done. So, it is a 1992 film directed by Claude Sauté.
Claude Sauté.
Claude Sauté. And Jacques Tichy.
Oh, what did I see that one? Is it an S there?
That's a fishy.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm not exactly sure I'd say that. F-I-E in French. Fichy. Could be Fichy.
Fichy. Okay. All right. He is the screenwriter, assisted by Claude Sauté, Yves Ullman, and Jerome Tournaire. Producer, Raphael Verdugo. Co-producers, Philippe Carcassonne, Jean-Louis Levy. Cinematographer, Yves Angelo. 1992. Interesting. Now, Claude Sauté was born February 23rd, 1924, died July 22nd in the 2000. Born in Montrouge in France, died in Paris.
Oh.
He is known as a chronicler of the post-war French society. He made 5 films with his favorite actress, Romy Schneider. Apparently, Romy Schneider is a big-time actress internationally. The most notable American film he did make was Intersection, which starred Richard Gere, Sharon Stone, and Lolita Davidovich. Have you heard of it?
Davidovich, yeah.
Davidovich?
Yeah.
The movie,
It could be
Intersection.
Davidovich. It could be Davidovich. Yeah.
Okay, anyways. The cast. Oh, you're going to have to read this. I'm going to have to quit doing French films, but here, you read it.
Okay. Daniel Auteuil is Stéphane. André Dussolier is Maxime. Elisabeth Bourgine is Regine. And Emmanuel Béard is Camille Kessler.
Emile Kessler. And she's actually one of the main characters. She is a concert violinist. You will love this movie. The entire soundtrack is all Ravel. It has the piano trio.
Oh, I like that.
It has the duet for violin and cello. It
I
has
heard that too.
the violin sonata for violin and piano.
Yeah.
And it also has a solo sonata or sonata for solo violin as well.
Uh-huh.
So it's a very good soundtrack, and I used to have that CD soundtrack. I know it's in my archive somewhere. Music director Philippe Sard. Sarde, Sarde.
Sarde.
Sard. Okay. Anyway, some of these musicians. Now the important part. The musicians. Check this out. The violin. Jean-Jacques Kantorov. Recognize the last name, Kantorov? I think he's the father or the uncle of the latest gold medal winner of the Tchaikovsky competition,
Oh, really?
Alexander Kantorov.
Huh.
The cellist is Keith Harvey. Have you heard of him?
No.
Keith Harvey. Well, this last guy you'll know. He is the pianist in this movie. It is Howard Shelley.
Wow, this dude.
Isn't that crazy? Howard
Wow.
Shelley. Yeah, in case some of you don't know Howard Shelley, I think it was about a decade ago, at least a decade ago. 5 times he has performed the entire works for piano works for piano by Rachmaninoff.
Uh-huh.
He did the series about 5 times.
Wow.
He has it out on CD. Amazing pianist. You have to have chops for that, folks. So, anyways, if you don't know this movie, the prelude I gave before we started the segment of the movie for PSI at the movies. Basically, it's about a violin maker or repairer, or I don't know what you want to call him. He repairs violins. He adjusts this and that.
Luthier.
How do you say it?
Luthier.
Luthier?
Luthier. That's an old word, but it's often used to represent any people who create or repair string instruments. But for the old lute.
Okay, I get it. Okay,
That's the old word for it. Nowadays, I probably just like violin maker or something.
Okay, so there's this violin maker, and at the beginning of the movie, he narrates on occasion throughout the movie. He talks about his life working on violins. He has a partner in crime. His name's Maxime, Maxime, and there's basically, Maxime. He and Maxime are very well in tune with each other. They know what to expect from each other. They've been together for forever, basically.
They're friends.
So yeah, just friends.
Uh-huh.
So basically, one day while they're closing up shop, Maxime says, "Let's go out for a drink." So, and they never go out for drinks. Okay, but they basically decide, okay, let's go out for drinks. So they go out to one of Maxime's favorite restaurants. And they're sitting at the table. He says, "Are you hungry?" You want to order some food? Oh, it's on me. So he says, "Yeah, I don't know. So what?" It's just, so why are you bringing, what's this occasion for going out for drinks? And so Maxime says, "Well," he says, "I've met someone."
Uh-huh.
He says, "You have?" So basically, it's only just been the two of them working together. They understand each other. You know, he works at violins, and Maxime is basically the businessman that brings in clients. They don't call them, customers. They call them clients, because this guy works with the greatest violinists in the world.
Uh-huh.
And so he says, "I've met someone." He says, "Oh, really?" And so he says, "Do I know her?" He says, "Well," he says, "look about 15 feet away from you. She is facing you." And he looks over 15 feet away in the next table, or maybe two tables perhaps. And it's Emmanuel. How do you say her name? Bart?
Yeah.
Bear. Okay.
Yeah.
And she plays, basically, it's the world-renowned violinist Camille Kessler. And so, anyways, so he doesn't have a reaction, okay, this violin maker. He doesn't have a reaction. And so he says, "Well," he says, "congratulations, I guess." That's about it. And so, anyways, the guy says, "Look," he says, our business, dealings and transactions are going to be a little bit different now that she's in the picture. Okay. You've heard of her, yes?" And he says, "Well, on the radio," he says, replies. He says, "Okay, well," he says, I've talked her into being one of our clients. I want you to look at her violin." And so, okay, so he says, "Okay, fine. Set up, have her, come in, on an open time at the store." And so, anyway, so the appointed time for our violin maker character meets Camille. She comes in, and basically, she's fallen in love with this guy. So instead of Maxime, she really likes this violin maker. She's intrigued by him. She's enamored with him. And of course, he realizes that she's trying to get close to him. And basically he just ignores it and shuns away. All right. Now, it's Emmanuel Bear. I don't know how you turn something like that. I mean, even the most strongest willed men, I don't know, really wouldn't turn her away, but this guy does. So anyways, the point of the whole movie is that Camille Kessler is a determined woman, and throughout the movie she becomes obsessed with this violin player, and time again through the movie all he does is ignore her. He shuns her. I don't know what happens in the end of the movie. Okay, for me, I'm only halfway through the movie. I did watch the movie a long time ago, years ago, but I do not remember what happens at the end of the movie. Now, the one thing you can be sure of, though, the cellist and the pianist in the movie, I think they're for real. I mean, I don't remember what Howard Shelley looked like when he was a young man, but he looked pretty legit to me.
When was this movie made?
This was 1992. 1992. Now,
it's 30 years ago.
Yes.
30 years ago.
Emmanuel Bear is a violinist. She's fairly convincing. She's fairly convincing as a violinist. I'm prone to say that she may have taken a few violin lessons as a child. But I'm listening to the notes, I'm watching her fingers. She lifts her fingers just a little too high, and her bow is not always straight when she does, when she's bowing. So
that's probably not what you're looking at when she's playing.
No, I pay attention.
Come on, this is a French film, and the cameraman, he's looking at her fingers on the fingerboard of the violin. No. He's looking at other things with the camera. They're going zooming into those places because it's a French film.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
No, my so. But
They're looking at the body of the instrument. No.
So I will definitely watch this movie. I mean, I was in the process of watching this movie this morning. I'm only about halfway through it, so
I can come over and have some buttered popcorn and watch it.
you could possibly. But anyways, so actually, Emmanuel Bear has made one American film.
Really?
Yeah. Unfortunately, she doesn't even speak in the whole movie.
Oh.
It's a romance comedy. It's called Date with an Angel, where she actually plays an angel.
Oh.
But she has to keep herself hidden.
Oh.
And so he's basically nursing her back because she.
Who's the guy?
I don't remember the name of the guy, but I remember I could see the box. The two of them are like walking down the sidewalk, and she's like wearing her long white gown, and the wings are sprouting out like this, and they're just sort of holding hands and walking.
Yeah.
She's like in the air flying this
Yeah.
way. So. But it's a cute film. Emmanuel Bear. I will say, as far as French actresses, she reminds me of a little bit of Grace Kelly. There's a Grace Kelly thing about her.
Really?
Yeah, she's sort of like a girl next door, but she's a very attractive girl next door.
You know who I was thinking about when you mentioned her?
What?
A woman I kind of had a crush on years ago.
Okay.
Tim Burton's French wife. The filmmaker, Tim Burton.
Yeah.
You remember Mars Attacks?
I do remember Mars Attacks.
Remember the alien with the tall, and she has a big hairdo, and she just...
Oh,
like
yeah.
That face.
Yeah.
She also appears at another time. I think in Tim Burton's Headless Horseman movie. What's that called? The Sleepy Hollow face.
Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp.
With Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
You remember, because I think this is Johnny Depp's memory, right? Remember the mother? Is it? I don't know if it's her. But remember there's a woman with pretty hair hanging down.
Okay.
And her son. And these guys come and take her, and he gives her witchcraft, and they put her in that
stockade.
No, in that torture thing where it's got spears on the inside.
Oh, an Iron Maiden.
And you can see her face, and there's blood coming through.
Oh.
And that's that woman. I can't remember her name, but I'll put a picture of her name up.
Okay.
I always thought, wow, she was just not like knock out beautiful, but just like natural beauty. That always attracts me. My partners a lot of the time it's not the fancy kind of stuff, because Mariah Carey used to say put silk pants on big. Anybody can look good with jewelry, so. But it's not to say that my partners haven't been genuinely attractive.
Yeah.
But I've always been attracted to the natural beauty that just comes from their heart and their spirit, their eyes, things like that. That lady, I'll look her name up. I don't think she was a big super actress.
Okay.
And it could have been because of a language barrier, because I'm pretty sure she was French.
Yeah.
But she was married to Tim Burton, and you know how he is. He likes to reuse actors. I mean, Johnny Depp shows a few times.
Johnny Depp, right? Yeah, Sleepy Hollow.
And later he got married to the British actress who's in Sweeney Todd with Johnny Depp. What's her name?
Oh.
I can't think of her name.
I know who you're talking about.
There's a B in there, isn't there? Anyway, that British.
I know who you're talking about.
I don't know if she's still married to him, if they're still together, but she was one of the more recent ones. And she appeared in. She was Mrs. What's-Her-Face in the Butcher of barber at Fleet Street.
Oh, Sweeney Todd.
Mrs. What's Her Face, who made the pies for the
Pies,
meetings,
yeah. I know who you
And then she shows up as a really unpleasant woman in Harry Potter.
Yeah, she's in
Kind
prison.
of
And
remorseless,
she's crazy. And,
nasty bitch of a witchy person. Yeah, but she's really good character.
oh, yeah, she's an excellent. And she's often playing the villain.
Yeah,
She's oftentimes.
yeah.
I can't remember her name.
I can't remember it.
Sarah or something.
No, you can look it up.
Yeah.
So we'll
Anyway.
post it, folks. So, but anyways,
Thank God
yeah.
for European women.
Yeah.
This is a little vote for European women.
Oh gosh. Well, check it out, folks. I mean, if anything, you'll love Ravel. If some of you pianists out there have never listened to chamber music by Ravel, you have to listen to his chamber music, Ravel. It's ecstatically beautiful. It really is.
Did I mention one more?
Sure. What?
Do you know the movie The Moderns?
I've heard of it. Is that the one
I've
with the
got the
artwork?
poster down. Yeah, I got the poster down in my garage. Was a display thing for when the movie was out
Wow.
at what was it called, King Street Theater? But I forget what it was, on in Madison, Wisconsin. So the guy who managed the place we had a good friendship, and I fell in love with this movie. It's Keith Carradine, right? That's
Keith
the
Carradine.
son of David.
Yeah.
David was the
Kung
Chinese
Fu.
kung fu dude,
Yeah.
right? So and Keith Carradine is an American who's playing. He's a painter,
Yeah.
but what he's really good at is copying,
Yeah.
which can be a legally okay profession.
Yeah.
Not when it's done for illegal reasons.
Yeah.
He's that good that he could make somebody believe that that's a real Monet or that's a Picasso or something. And he actually gets hired for something.
Uh-oh.
But there's a lot of amazing. The characters. And Geraldine Chaplin is an older woman.
Yeah.
Charlie Chaplin's daughter.
Yeah.
She's in the thing. I've seen lots of famous people in it. It's a magnificent movie, and I love the movie because there's like early 20th century French jazz piano music and stuff, and the singing and drinking the drink, which in the United States you can't buy it. It's illegal.
Absinthe.
Absinthe made from wormwood.
Oh, okay. I think
Absinthe. Look, right there on these. Pull it out.
Where?
This should absinthe next to Van Gogh.
Wow.
Pull it out.
This one?
No,
Oh.
absinthe right here, just to the left of the blue one. Van Gogh, then another one, then absinthe.
Oh, there it
See
is. Okay, the lettering was funny.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
It's a really cool book. And I drank this stuff when I was in Europe.
You did?
Oh, yeah. Now, it's not as necessarily as bad as the original stuff back in the days,
Oh.
because it's actually, wormwood is poisonous if
Yeah.
you take too much of it. However, there is a Spanish manufacturer. You can get it, I think legally. We got it in Cyprus,
Huh.
and I tried it.
Yeah.
You get pretty stoned on this stuff. And they serve it a traditional way. Like nowadays, there's a drink called Pernod, which is a replacement for absinthe. But traditionally, you take this kind of slotted silver spoon and put a cube of sugar on it.
Yeah.
And you put a little ice in the glass, and then you put the sugar with the slotted spoon, and then you pour the absinthe over the sugar so that it would melt into the liquid as it was in there. And you just stir it and drink it chilled. And the original stuff was absinthe. And it was liquid opium or something like that back in the day. I don't know what it's made from wormwood. But, just flash through some of the paintings and stuff. It was part of the cult, but show them up there. They're famous painters who did famous paintings. One of the guys, Toulouse-Lautrec, is famous for featuring some of this stuff. It was so much intrinsically part of the culture.
Look at that.
Back in the days, and oh my God, there were these beautiful turn of the century posters.
Sorry about the glare, folks.
Artistic posters that people collect from France back in the day that was all about absinthe and all this stuff. This was the drug of choice, which was totally legal for people crossing through the classes. But what I was going to say really about that film is wonderful actors and people, a lot of different characters in the film, The Moderns. But I think it's Isabella Rossellini, right?
Yeah. Could
That's well, Greta. What's her name? Rossellini and the Swedish actress married Greta. Well, she was the young one. Not Greta. The woman who was featured in. She is a young pianist that runs off with the violinist. There's the Swedish film that you brought in, and then there's the American one done with.
Ingrid Bergman.
Ingrid Bergman.
Yeah.
And Rossellini got together. They got married.
Wow.
And they had Isabella.
Huh.
She's I love it. I think that's who it is. I may be wrong about that. I could be wrong about it. I have to look it up. But that is, my God, absolutely one of my favorite movies ever. Because it pulls so much. I love almost any film when history is brought really convincingly to life.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I really loved the whole series of Mad Men. The advertising executive thing with John, what's his name, is the lead guy. And the guy that was responsible for the costumes and the scenery and everything, I don't know officially what his role was, but he was always credited.
Mm-hmm.
He may have been executive producer or something like that, or a producer, but he won awards for several years for the convincingness of everything, the haircuts, the way people moved, the costumes and everything. It was so convincing in the 60s. I lived in the 60s. I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I remember those days and those cars. And men, of any decent middle class standing, always wore a suit and tie. I mean, the workers, they wore trousers and a shirt and a jacket, maybe some outer jacket to go to work at the factory or something. But the guys who were administrators, you always wore a tie. Bankers, all men always had ties on. I mean, it was more formal back in the days. And I remember earlier on when guys were still wearing hats, as part of their outfit. But the Moderns, I'll put some stuff up about that one. And I could be wrong. It might not be Isabella. She's actually married to this crazy Asiatic art collector, rich guy.
In the
movie. And then he ends up having the Keith Carradine character.
It isn't Marion Cotillard, is it?
No, that doesn't sound right.
Okay.
I have to look it up.
Right.
But that's another film, and of course it's based in France. And, oh my God, there's so many things. There's another one that comes to mind too, which is the Isadora Duncan movie that's actually played by, I'll put this up too, I won't take too much time. The British actress who's rather infamously involved in progressive politics in the past. Okay. She was from a family of famous actors, but she plays Isadora Duncan, and her life story to me was always fascinating. Wow! Because she knew famous people like Gertrude Stein and Alice, and her second husband was John Singer, who with his name was John, I'm not sure, but the Singer man who was inherited the fortune from the Singer sewing machine business in America. Very powerful, wealthy man. Jason Robards plays that part in the movie. And then for her third husband, she was married to a Soviet-Russian poet. Went and lived in the Soviet Union, taught dancing to the little commie kids, stuff like that. Vanessa Redgrave. Yeah. Very fascinating movie. And if I remember, I had looked for it for a long time on video. I don't know if it's available now. You would think it would be, but maybe there were some copyright issues or something. Yeah. But for the longest time, you could not find it. I couldn't find a copy of it on videotape.
What? The Moderns?
No, the movie about Isadora Duncan.
Isadora Duncan.
But that's not the title. I forget what it's called. Okay. But that's a grand movie, And she she had an interesting life, she was quite a flamboyant character. Boy, vey. But later on in life, she falls in love with this younger Italian race car guy who has a Bugatti. And she's in Italy, or France, I'm not sure. Along the Mediterranean somewhere. There's a race. Going to be a race. But she goes out to take a ride with the guy. And she's somewhat older than him now. But he's, gigolo type.
Yeah.
But there's a one in that monologue play I told you about, Gertrude Stein,
Yeah.
that Pat Carroll does. She always talks. And then there was Isadora with her scarves, all her scarves. That's what got her killed. She had on one of her big, long, flowing scarves. And she's in the car and the wind's blowing. She's all happy and everything. And the scarf gets caught in the back tire of the Bugatti. And rather quickly broke her neck.
Killed instantly.
Her. Yeah.
Jeez.
But that was a cool movie. And it's just, now this one I don't know about the historical stuff, but
yeah.
I just love, and the French, well, because Italian cinema, when the time when it was really being produced,
yeah.
I know there's earlier stuff, but the really famous Italian period is the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Some of the early stuff was influenced by the Americans being there, but they got involved because they were trying to prevent communism from taking over Italy.
Yeah.
And they figured they'd put a lot of money into the entertainment for people.
Oh, yeah.
And then work things out with the Vatican. But then you get into some more experimental and really wild stuff in the 70s in Italy, Fellini.
Yeah,
and things like that. But the French, so many times, like we talked about these films before, the Tous les matins du monde, which is the story about the French musician, the viol player. Yeah. Costumes and scenery. I mean, they have such a beautiful country, and then they still have all these chateaus and palaces and all this stuff. They can do some serious, fabulous historical recreations.
Oh, sure they can.
That are just delicious to watch.
Yeah. Well, I tell you about the French, this film. They give nothing away. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. There's no actual soundtrack to the film. They just let each person reveal a certain facet of their personality.
And they do that through the music?
No, the music, all you hear is rehearsals going on. And she's in a recording studio running through a few things. And you get to hear...
there's a lot of different music.
Oh, there's a lot of different music. By the way, it's not all just Ravel. There's one or two instances in there where they play, I believe, a Bach partita, where she's just warming up. And there was another violinist at the beginning of the movie. He's an elder gentleman, and he's playing something in E minor. And it sounds like Bach. And he's doing it in the middle. And he has sort of this Menuhin type posture on the stage where he's staying like this.
Yeah.
Like this. And and those are the only two instances you hear actual music. That, and plus the rehearsals that she's going to do. And plus the fact that the main character, the violin maker, or repairer, or luthier.
In French, good for you.
Yeah.
Because we say luthier in English.
Okay.
But luthier is right. That's correct.
So, but anyways, he has to hear the violins in his shop to hear what adjustments he has to make. He assesses the sound. Yeah. And there's one point in the movie where Emmanuel Bier comes in with her violin and he says, play something. So she plays a little bit of something, and she says, you hear that buzz? He says, I don't know where that's coming from. He says, and he just says, okay, I'll have a look. He says, I'll have a look. So basically, and the scary part is that he says, I think I can improve the sound of your violin. And it's an expensive violin. It's like a historic violin. I think I can make some adjustments here and there, but I have to have your permission to do what I do. So he tells her what he's going to do, and basically she gives her boyfriend Maxime says you must trust him. He knows exactly what he's doing. And so he says, okay, do what you can. You know, and so
That's cool.
he puts the violin in his hands. He sits off and he works on it for a few days, and he brings it back to her when she's rehearsing the piano trio, and she plays a few bars here and there, and she's astonished by it. And says, "Huh, the tone sounds clear." He looks to the cellist and the pianist. "Does it sound clear?" And they says, "Oh yes, it does sound much clearer." So just okay. Well, thank you.
Did you see that article I sent you? Did you have time to read it? About
Which
the
one?
co-principal cellist of the Bomberg?
Yes,
I
yes.
sent him an article early
Yeah.
this morning. I think I have strange sleeping habits sometimes, but
Yeah.
it was a very interesting story. And I sent it to him because last show we talked about
Bomberg,
music
yeah.
and everything there.
But he was
But
repairing
this
his
is
own cello.
a guy who needed a repair done. My guess he had more than one cello. Some of these people,
Of course they do.
and he was having repairs done on one of his cellos. He said he took it into the guy and said, "Well, I can have it ready for you in a month." And he said, "Really?" He's doubtful about that.
Yeah.
Which turned into more than a year before he finally
Yes.
got it back, and he expected that would be the
Yeah.
case. But he thought he'd help him, expedite the matter.
Yeah. There was
He
a
would say,
crack in the back.
Can I help you with stuff and help you do it? And he taught him how to, do a few things, and then he got enough courage that he bought some beautiful maple from Bosnia area in former Yugoslavia. Beautiful wood, and cut the whole thing out and everything, and he made his own cello.
Yeah.
And because of what you said about tweaking the sound and everything, the one thing he said, "I'm not a luthier. I built the cello and I know the instrument and everything." But he's very pleased with it. He said, "Now I'm experimenting with simpler things like maybe changing the sound posts or some things like that to affect the tone, but I don't have the skills originally as I'm putting the thing together."
Because he talks about that. He says, "All right, what is a no-no is we're not allowed to use files and we're not allowed to use sandpaper.
Right.
But I'm now professional. So I use a file
use it.
and I use a sandpaper."
But the cool thing is he's playing his cello in the symphony,
Exactly.
in the performances and stuff. His own, the one that he made for himself. Isn't that wonderful?
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah.
You know?
One of the cellos he talks about was one from his childhood years when he was still a student, and his mother still had it.
Yeah.
And so he went to see it when he was visiting home, and he noticed that it still had the same old crack in the back of the cello. The same old crack.
And that was one that he was giving away or selling. Playing
Everything.
like
Yeah,
that.
that's the one.
But the guy had played Guillaume and can't think of the Italian, Guadagnini.
Yeah, good.
Guadagnini, I think.
Yeah.
For example, I mean, he's co-principal of Bomberg too.
Yeah.
I got a surprise coming at some point.
Okay. Well,
Because I looked up that stuff about Bomberg we were talking about. I found a box set
he did.
of the first 70 years of the Bomberg Symphony.
He did.
Deutsche Grammophon.
No way.
I think it's coming from England. Maybe it'll be here in September sometime or something, but I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, I'm
So,
looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Holy crap. So you went and took the initiative to look for the Bomberg Symphony.
Well, because I was looking at, I was curious about, I mean, the orchestra has quite a reputation.
Yeah, it
And the
does
city
now.
as a whole, as we talked about, but not very much. Not so much, more about the witch stuff than the music stuff.
Is it when you said Bomberg Symphony on Deutsche Grammophon, is it older recordings?
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Going back to the origins, yeah.
Oh.
And it turns out that the modern symphony orchestra,
Yeah.
especially now, I don't know what they would have had. I mean, this was a bishop, what they say, Prince Bishopric government.
Yeah.
They would have had an orchestra and various things like that if
Uh-huh.
need be, in Hines time and so forth. But the more modern orchestra, because that part of Germany and Franconia and stuff would have suffered in the Second World War.
Yeah.
But when you talk about the what was it? The Philharmonic.
Yes, it was the South
Schultz
German
put together.
Philharmonic Orchestra, but they came from the German Philharmonic that was in Prague.
Yeah, well,
at
this
the
was
time.
the origin of the new Bomberg Symphony that they were Germans that came
came in.
from there.
Yeah.
I also thought about something you mentioned, that orchestra that Schultz
Yep.
put together. You mentioned the year 1968.
Yeah.
That was the year of the Czech Rebellion. In 56 was Hungary.
Yeah.
When the Hungarians revolted and the Soviets sent in the tanks.
Yeah.
And then there were various Hungarians that moved to the United States.
Okay.
And then in 1968, there was the Czech Rebellion.
Yeah.
And famously, video in color of the tanks rolling into Prague and shit like that.
Wow.
There, presumably, then people that escaped got out. You remember the movie, The Unbearable Lightness of Being?
Yeah.
Unbearable Lightness
Daniel
of Being.
Day-Lewis and what's her face?
That film is based around the time of the '68 revolution in Czechoslovakia. But now, the roots of the Bamberg Symphony goes back at least 2 decades or more before your 1968 thing.
Yeah.
This would have been immediately after the war, because there were a lot of Germans that chose or were forced out. Initially, at the very end of the war, they were forced out by the Czechs. And then I think more of them left when Czechoslovakia moved towards communism. They didn't want to retire that, and they went to West Germany. But apparently that was the foundations for the modern Bamberg symphonies, I read.
Wow.
And they're in an area
That's
in
amazing.
Franconia, in Bavaria, where they're not that far from the eastern, the Iron Curtain. Remember that map I put up 1 or 2 shows ago of Vienna, sticking out there?
Yeah.
No, here's more or less the line of Western Europe.
Yeah.
And then out here, right there is Vienna, sticking it underneath East Germany and Czechoslovakia and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, those are interesting places to be back then. And when I was first in Germany, 1983, we went through East Germany on the Aufstrecke, the highways that they had built to go to Berlin. I had some interesting stories that happened there.
That was my freshman year in college.
That was
83.
interesting time, and I went through Austria and Switzerland. This is my friend Van. That was quite a... Oh, and I went with my friend Kurt in 83 when I couldn't go to see Eastern Berlin. I talked about that story.
Yeah,
Did I even
you
tell
did.
you at one of the shows?
Yeah, you have.
I almost got arrested. Somebody got sent back, and all of the guys at Checkpoint Charlie spilled out.
Yeah.
What the hell did you do over there? But
kill people with lesser.
my friend Klaus took me on a kind of a not allowed. It was 4 or 5 hours. We went to the old original, now bombed out, skeleton of what was left of the great train station in Berlin from the Nazi days. But the main part of it is still there, facing in West Berlin. But you can cross the grounds, which now have fence and stuff up. It's kind of like a neutral territory, but technically it was off limits.
Yeah.
We got in there and went walking through. We walked all through this area, which was just obliterated from the war. And it was technically in East German territory, but it was neutral grounds. It wasn't like behind the wall. It was in front of the wall, but with this buffer space between West Berlin and there. We spent like 5 hours walking around through all this stuff. There were ruins of buildings and things like that. We could see guys watching us in the watchtowers.
Yeah.
Technically, we were illegal.
Wow.
But it was policed by the East Germans. But they never sent anybody over. And Klaus even waved at one of the guys.
Oh, God!
And he kind of just made a motion. He didn't wave back, but just like, But that was, he said, okay, so you're going to get to see East Berlin. So wow, back in those days, that was still... Isn't the movie called The Third Man or something that Orson Welles does?
There is a movie called.
And there's that's got the Ferris wheel in the whole bit where the spy versus spy stuff, isn't it?
There could be, I think so.
It's a wonderful movie if you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it yet.
And another movie that I'm thinking of along those lines, which really vividly shows the spy time is Tom Hanks did, where he plays an American guy.
Tourist?
He's trying to help a businessman from America.
Oh.
Is it from Hines? I should I forget. But he's actually captured on the east side
I don't know.
and taken. And he actually was working for the west side.
For the West Side? Wow.
And commies get him.
So
And
it
they
was
take
the
him.
espionage.
But this is like 1960-ish.
Yeah.
Early 60s or something. So I'll look it up. But
Okay.
the movie that Tom Hanks did, and he plays the guy that helps do the talking and get the guy out and bring him back. Folks, I mean, there's all kinds of crazy shit going on in our world nowadays. But back in the Iron Curtain days in Europe,
Yeah.
there's some pretty scary crap that went
I'm
on.
sure there was.
It was also very romantic, you know, because when you're like right there when I was in West Berlin and stuff,
Yeah.
totally surrounded by the communist world. And where I was staying with a friend in Kreuzberg, we did a summer lease.
Yeah.
I was with him for 2 weeks when I was there. Kreuzberg used to be kind of a Jewishish neighborhood, right bordered on the river Spree.
Yeah.
Or Spree, I forget which is Spree or Spree. And now, I mean, if you walked up just the street a little bit and then curved around, the wall was right there, physically right there. And then it came around, and the river came around down. You go down the street this way, and there's a little park that went down to the river, and there was a monument with barbed wire wrapped around it. A wooden cross pounded into the, I mean, it's permanent,
Wow.
pounded into the ground with barbed wire wrapped around it. A little farther down, there was famously a pedestrian bridge that connected West Berlin and East Berlin, and it was persona non grata now.
Right.
But back in the days before the wall was built, people would go back and forth on that bridge.
Yeah.
And then after the wall fell, then people went back and forth on the bridge. But
Yeah.
in this case, the cross down there with the barbed wire around it was the place where a guy had managed to escape from the east. He made it past the wire, the trenches, the mines, all that shit they had set up. It was like at least a football field deep of all kinds of shit to keep the people in.
Yeah.
And then he got in the water, and they even had their half of it. There was barbed wire in the water, which was deep enough, but but also high enough that it would be possibly for people to get through. And the soldiers had come down and followed him, and they were shooting into the river at him. And then the people on the west side saw it, what had happened. They kind of came out, and they were kind of shouting and telling, shame on you. And then the guy, they were trying to encourage him, come on, come on, come on. And there were some of them that they weren't at the very edge of the river because they were
Right there.
fucking soldiers were shooting
Yeah.
in water. The guy was on West Berlin territory. They shot him in the back as he stood up, coming out of the river. And they put the cross right there where he fell. And technically he was their citizen, but they killed him on West Berlin territory. Now, fucking illegal. Totally wrong. It was totally wrong for lots of reasons.
Yeah.
But at night, when we were sleeping there at Kreuzberg, occasionally you could hear
No way.
machine gun fire. And the dogs would be barking sometimes, and sometimes you hear a siren or something. Now, what Klaus told me, it could be real. It could be somebody doing something. But he said, we think that a lot of times it's psychological. Just shooting up into the air. And getting the dogs routed up and maybe running the sirens a little bit.
Wow.
Just to keep everybody on both sides. That was 1983, 7 years before it all collapsed. Very vivid memories, very vivid, romantic in that sense, because of the danger. And everything.
Yeah.
One of the things I did when I got kicked out of East Berlin and got to come back, I had all this time that day on my hands, and it was still early in the morning. So before I went back to the apartment, I went to what was called the Museum Checkpoint Charlie. Museum of Checkpoint Charlie. It was a building that was right there. The bottom of it had actually had tunnels dug through, which at one time had been used to help people get across. But now it was a museum. It was dedicated to the history of the wall and the people that tried to help people escape.
Yeah.
Photographs, famous videos. You can see stuff on YouTube. There were paintings and some amazing things. There was a painting of a scene that people talked about, and then this guy memorialized it in a color painting. 1960, 61 maybe. Minister, priest. I don't know if he was a priest or a Protestant minister. Was opposed, really violently opposed to what the communists were doing, and all the people. And he saw that as his religious responsibility. He had all these pamphlets that he was giving around and passing around and throwing up in the air for people to take.
Yeah.
This is in East Berlin.
Yeah.
And it's a very realistic looking, a little bit like this guy's artwork, Crumb in a way.
Oh,
a little bit.
Crumb.
But it's a 1960s East Berlin neighborhood with the Soviet cars, older cars.
Yeah.
It's in the buildings, the kind of crappy and everything. But he's out in the middle. And the image that the painter chose to paint, he set himself on fire.
Oh, gosh.
He sacrificed himself.
Jeez.
And the soldiers, or the police, are not coming to him to try to put the fire out. They're running around attacking the other people in the square
To pick up the
pamphlets and take them away from him. They let the guy burn. They didn't care. I remember seeing some really horrific things. Honest to God, I was so proud, and I don't mean to offend people by saying how proud I am, but so damn proud to be a citizen of America.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we got our problems, and lately in politics and stuff, it's a bit embarrassing to somebody like me, but more or less, you're free to live your life. You can say what you want.
Yeah.
You can believe what you want. You can pray to the God that you want.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. And my God, I've been in places in the world where that don't happen. And you can get in big shit trouble for it. And I'll never forget that visit to that museum and saw stuff. I think it's gone now.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of passed into history. I'm not sure, but it was an important presence at that time. And it was right there on the border, because the wall and the field and all the barbed wire and all that shit was right there, right next to it. And then there's the checkpoint for the army. And then you walk through and went on to East Berlin to try to get in to just go see things. Most of the time people got to, but I got in trouble because I had seen one particular button on my
your
shoulder
book
bag,
Yeah.
which was banned by the East German government. Anyway.
Well, we are running on 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Okay.
So
So you got some more you got to do?
well, this
What do
will.
you want to do?
Well, not really. I got stuff, but I could wait. This concludes CSI at the movies.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, I mean, there's plenty more to come from. I mean, I just have to go dig for it.
Well, I loved it. We brought Night Song in, and we've had Intermezzo.
Intermezzo.
Before that. Some great films.
Yeah, some very good films.
Well,
Night Song. What was the other one? Rhapsody. I brought in Elizabeth Taylor.
that's a wonderful film.
Yeah.
So, well, do you want to do anything else, or hold off on stuff?
Well, I don't know.
I got a few things that
You want
have come in.
Oh, go ahead. I mean, you want to show anything? Or?
Is the thrifted thing?
Okay. Well, one of us has been out on a journey looking for stuff. So,
Is it based upon some stuff we've been talking about before?
okay. So, basically,
Do you want to do one more segment?
Sure.
We'll do a short segment.
PSI. High Plains Thrifter. I'm sure. Viewers, welcome to PSI, High Plains Drifter. I don't know if any of you understand this, but I did borrow the title from one of Clint Eastwood's old spaghetti westerns called High Plains Drifter.
And that music
is
not freely available.
I'm sure it's not.
Even for a little clip.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not. Yeah,
it's got that whistle thing.
Yeah, it's from a different movie though. It's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Or it's a whistle.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, but I like the music that we use for it.
Oh yeah, it's good.
Kind of fun.
It's good.
That's the it's called Electric Space Western.
Electric Space Western. It
well,
like a guitar.
I just wanted to remind them of this.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. The thrifter thing was that you brought it in.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get a copy made because I think the music looks to me. I can kind of hear it in my head.
Yeah.
Really evocative and really cool. I played a whole bunch of Monpou. I love Federico Monpou.
Oh yeah.
His stuff. This is not that. This is a little earlier and more, we might say more traditional romantic harmony and setting and all that.
Yeah, wait till you get to
But it's apparently, I mean, of course, Max Etchik is an old publisher.
Look how long this thing is.
But
it's long.
I found some used copies, but people want up to $60 for that. And how many pages? Just like a few little pieces.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
I got lucky.
So he's got this copy, and it's, as far as I can tell, commercially unavailable.
Yeah.
I'm going to have my hands on it because I really would like to learn this.
Yeah.
And then...
Wait till you get to number 5, the Beer Seuss. Yeah. Holy crap.
You played through the stuff?
Huh?
You played through it?
I've played through it, yeah. Oh, boy. You better count it as a blessing that Movement 5 is only a page long.
Yeah.
It's a treacherous one page.
I'm looking forward to this. I've been thinking more about programs. I also been rethinking about what kind of repertoire I really want to do and stuff.
No.
I'm pretty sure I want to play the Appassionata.
Okay.
The Opus 57 of Beethoven. But I have been working on the Opus 31s, and I love number 3.
Yeah.
But I thought, I would love to do a D minor first half. So what I had been thinking about was the Chromatic Fantasy and Fugue, the Rondo of Mozart.
Rondo of Mozart.
And
which one? D major or D minor?
D minor.
Okay, man. Are you talking about the fantasy in D minor?
Fantasy.
Okay.
Not Rondo, fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the one.
And then I was looking at the Tempest. Well, I've been playing the Tempest. I can play it. I mean, I'm fine with it. It's kind of fun to play the rondo in the third movement, where everything's switched. Yeah, we've got the accompaniment. Play with the left hand. But I've had the more feeling recently that maybe what I want to do is make sure that I've got a certain amount of Schubert in my repertoire before I die. And I played some of the earlier sonatas and things, and I know most of this now. But what I'm aiming to do is know the first and second books of impromptus.
Yeah.
I've been playing the first for years, and the second one, I need to learn the fourth one and work a little bit more on the first. 2 and 3, I've pretty much mastered. I also play the 3 piano pieces, the late opus number. And I've played and recorded for you guys the Noma Musico during the COVID year. And then I played the A major, the big one, the late A major, years ago. I'd like to revive that and then learn the B flat. And then I want to get the D major and the G major so that I can play those. Okay. That's a bit of Schubert, but it's profound Schubert. And I honestly think of myself more as I'm older now. I'm more keen to play Schubert than I am Beethoven. Does that make any sense?
Makes sense.
And then there's some other music that I'm looking at, various things, but I love some of the Spanish music, and this piece, as I was reading through when you talked about it,
Yeah.
Siete Canciones Populares Españolas of Manuel de Falla. They look really fascinating. I'm interested in that.
They look very expensive.
It's a big etching thing. I'm looking at a few other things.
Yeah.
I'm at the Franco and play the Prelude for
Prelude,
a few.
Yeah.
There's some Prokofiev, there's some Davis, some Scriabin things I'm sort of looking at. And always looking at Chopin and always looking at more mazurkas.
Mm-hmm.
I love mazurkas. And something may have arrived in the mail. I'm not sure, but
Okay.
I'll look at it next week. I can tell you what it is, but I'll show it to you next week. I ordered Philip Glass's etudes.
Oh, you did?
The 20 etudes.
The score?
Glass, the
Oh,
score.
boy.
Not for Florence. I love number 5 played by Viking Olafsson. Mesmerizingly, beautifully played. There's, I watched it on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Viking Olafsson playing Philip Glass, etude number 5. And then I heard a little bit of the Russian guy. It was also highly recommended. We don't know his name too well.
Yeah.
He played the first one, which is quite a busy, more Lisztian kind of thing to start off with. But I read about why Glass wrote these pieces. Mm-hmm. As he became more active as a performer, going around places, he wrote these in order to clean up and perfect his technique and his endurance, so he could do all these tours.
Right.
And Glass has done, it's amazing how many operas that he's written. Some really famous ones. But you remember the 3-part film series, right?
Yeah.
Koyaanisqatsi. Do you remember Koyaanisqatsi?
Yeah.
I forget, it's an Indian term. I forget what it means. I'll put it up. But
We're
I
talking
think
about Philip Glass, right?
3 films
Okay.
that were done, and Glass wrote the music for them.
Okay.
It's just video images of the Earth with changing things like that. I forget what Koyaanisqatsi means, but I think there were 3 of them, 1, 2, and 3. And Philip Glass wrote all that music. And then I was a member of the contemporary music ensemble, chamber ensemble, in Madison, which was led by Todd Wellborn.
Yeah.
I remember we did Steve Reich's music for, was it 12 pianos? It was
12 pianos? I know the one with 13 instruments.
No, this was one for all pianos.
All pianos.
We did it out on the library mall, and we put, like, I don't know if it was 12 or 8, but how many of it was, but we set up these upright pianos out in a kind of big, almost full circle, so we could all hear each other and stuff.
Okay.
And then Todd directed it. But it was Steve Wright, not Philip Glass.
Right.
It was a really interesting experience. Because my part, you just go something like that. There were only 3 chord changes in my part for the whole 10 minutes, 12 minutes. It goes on for a while.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit like when if you were to slowly turn the kaleidoscope and the glass would fall in the... It's still all the same colors and the same things, but it begins to change and shift. It was a very weird experience because when we performed it, each time we performed it, it takes a tremendous amount of discipline and focus to stay on your part.
Yeah.
Because as it starts to come together, it's like the best thing in chamber music. It's where the composition only comes alive when everybody's working at the same time.
Yeah.
And you hear these different rhythmic and color type modulations, articulative things going on, and yours continues to be something, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of shifts, something changes a little bit. it was amazing because I felt every time that we performed it, I lifted out of my physical body and experienced this magic of the music. Got caught up in the color and the rhythm and stuff that was there, and I was contributing something to it, but it was just a component of the whole thing. It's a very strange experience. And the first time it happened, I panicked a little bit because I made sure I stayed on my part and kept doing it right. Anyway, so Philip Glass is going to be showing up. May have arrived today, I don't know.
Wow.
But I'll show it to you next week, and I want to get started.
Who published it?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But it cost me, I think, $20
Okay.
for
It's not
20,
bad.
28 tunes. By a living composer.
Yeah.
And at least, I mean, I heard 3 snippets. I think I was in the whole number 5. I'm definitely going to start with that one for sure. Beautiful work. The challenges are different than, for example, Transcendental or something like that, but they are etudes. And he actually credited his influence being the Chopin etudes and Dochnany's piano exercises.
Really?
Those are the yeah. I don't know if it was him or the guy that wrote the article talked about this monster figure buster exercise of Dochnany, which I still need to experience because I've got them in a book now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start to work on it and see what happens. But so that's that with the scores of music. Then I really got interested in this guy.
Okay.
And I just wanted to see what was available, and I found a copy. I think I got this.
I hear echoes of the movie
Amazon.
when I met someone. Oh, who is it? It is. Oh, where did you find this?
Yeah, it's a library kicked out copy. But I looked through it and read a little bit about the writer who did it.
Oh.
This is extremely well documented and everything. Very good. It, of course, mentions and accepts his homosexuality and stuff.
Oh.
But I did think I told you.
Yeah.
He did die at the Spanish
Spanish
flu
flu.
outbreak.
Yeah.
That's what killed him. Now, I mean, he was a hardworking guy and all that, but he was in a partnership with a fellow who was a policeman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Married.
Yeah.
Policeman. Way back in the days, decades before Stonewall, decades before you'd be open about it. But New York was a relatively, well, it was a place where you could live that lifestyle.
Oh, gosh.
But there's some great photographs.
There's the
But
cop.
it was very interesting that he was one of those people, happened to become a statistic in 50 to 100
Look
million
how
people
thin
that
he
died
was. Look how thin.
in the flu. He died of the flu. Similarly, you know, it's an interesting thing just in passing that the British and the French, I think, have records of this. And in general, in Europe, there has been a viral type of outbreak at the beginning of every century, going back in recorded history several hundred years. The one that my grandparents knew about and had lived through was the Spanish flu after the conclusion of the Second World War, First World War. And I mean, it truly devastated the world. I mean, if you think that they know that there's at least 50 million and they think more than likely it could be double that, that's 100 million people at the beginning of the 20th century. That was a much bigger percentage of the human population than even the numbers we lost with COVID recently in our history. But somehow the virus has managed to show up once a century, and they've been on their own, developing and doing their thing, and for several hundred years they call the human population every century. And Mr. Griffiths became a number and a casualty, a statistic in that pandemic. But it was pretty cool stuff there. Did you show it to him?
Oh, no, not yet. All right, let me show this to you folks. I'm going to try to see if I can get it without the glare as well as I can. There we go. Not doing very well.
That wasn't too bad. I think
Charles
I paid
Griffiths.
somewhere between $8 and $10 to buy it and get it shipped here.
Jeez. Riverside CC Library. Wow.
Riverside.
That's what it says.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's New York. Probably. Anyway,
Beautiful book.
yeah. And then I wanted to share this other book, maybe if some people were interested in reading it, because at some point I'm going to do, what do you call it, undercover?
Undercover?
Yeah, I'm going to do a report on this.
Okay.
I'm rereading this again for the third time.
Oh, you are?
It's so fascinating. I never made it all the way through,
Okay.
but you can see in the beginning, I got tons of things underscored, taking notes. This is a really cool book. This guy's a Scottish pianist, piano professor. Show it to him. It's Kenneth Hamilton's.
After the Golden Age. Wow.
I've got about halfway through the book at time before. It's so dense with wonderful information and stories. But the really fascinating thing is the development of the piano recital from the early 19th century.
Yeah.
And what that was like, what they did, how they played, what they played, into the middle and in the later period when this guy was at a time, Franz Liszt was still alive, and is quoted here in the book. He went to some piano concerts in the late 1870s or something. He died in 86.
86. Yeah.
It was a big deal. Franz Liszt would show up. Everybody knew who he was.
Yeah.
He'd come to hear a concert. But his comment many times was, boy, these things are getting too long. Because back in Liszt days, most of what he did was a variety show.
Oh, yeah.
And he did more and more of his own music. But there was always some, not always, but sometimes it was expected. There was an orchestra thing,
Yeah.
there was a singer, some voice accompanying going, different stuff like that. To the point where it became just purely piano music.
Yeah.
And then playing the works of other composers.
Oh, yeah.
And
That is.
but he talks about, for example, this fellow right here. There's some concerts where there's one where he shows where all the pieces he played for demanded encores, one after the next. The encores lasted for 45 minutes, and then the program that he played was well over 2 hours. So this was veering on with the intermission stuff.
Yeah.
Easily 3+ hour concert. And that was kind of common practice.
Yeah.
But this is a really great read. Really, really fascinating read. All the people, but I love experiencing history brought to life.
Mhm.
And you get to hear, like Mendelssohn. Mendelssohn, improvisation was a big deal in the early 19th century. I mean, back in Beethoven's time, he was famous improviser.
Yeah.
Really famous for it. And it was expected, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Classical music back in those days was a lot more like what we think of as jazz. Well, Bach too. All those guys could.
Oh, yeah.
Improvisation was, yeah, it's what you did.
That's what you did.
And it's like what jazz pianists do.
It's a lost art,
You know?
today.
And Mendelssohn, interestingly, is quoted as saying that, he could do it, and he was successful at it.
Oh, yeah.
But he always made him a little nervous because his composer tendency would get him to create something with opposing themes and develop the material stuff. He said, God forbid if I should ever get off track.
Yeah.
And then, where the hell am I going? How can I make
How
this
do I
work?
get back?
Because, he had a bit of a classique kind of style of writing, and it was terrorizing for someone.
Oh, yeah.
To do it. But interestingly, is that when they played like a movement from a Beethoven sonata or an unrecognized composer, the audience expected you to have the music in front of you.
Yeah.
How dare you represent another composer and presume to be able to play it all from up here without having the music in front of you? Liszt was one of the first ones who got away with initially playing without the scores in front of him, because he famously played his Schubert list transcriptions of songs, and he did the Beethoven symphonies for two hands.
Oh yeah.
He also did them for four hands.
Yeah.
Liszt was trying to share the music of composers whose work he really valued. This is like 70 years before recordings ever happened. And he's just trying to share music with people who, for various reasons, also might never be able to afford a ticket or get to a ticket to go to a concert and hear an orchestra play, you know. And he was the first one who started to play things by memory in public, and the people were so overwhelmed and impressed with what he could do that they kind of forgave him for it. It was like, really, oh, no, don't you dare do that. But anyway, this is really cool. And then, I'm almost done.
Oh,
I told
I
you
was
about,
wondering when you were going to get to that.
because of the one CD I bought of Ives's two-string quartets, and then they do Halloween on it.
Yeah.
The Lydian String Quartet, I talked about them last week as well.
Yeah.
I found some stuff. I think these are the only ones I've ordered so far, I think. There's some other stuff on my wish list. But here they are
They finally
doing
came in.
Death and the Maiden and a couple of string quartets. And then this is what I'm looking forward to.
Oh, it's them.
This is John Harbison's first two string quartets and a piece he calls, I wonder why it's famous, November 19th, 1828. I don't know what it's called.
Oh.
And then I have a 2 CD set with the third string quartet, Fantasy on the Ground, and Thanks, Victor.
This is autographed.
Yeah. These are all
Holy crap.
the Lydian String Quartet. And I clearly was really interested and excited about them because the playing in the Ives, both the first, there's a big difference, there's a world of difference between the first and second string quartets of Ives. But they play it with such Schubert power and warmth and, you know, romantic fervor and conviction. And in this first string quartet, it's American very clearly, but it's still pretty tonal. The second one, they're really getting out there. But I mean, you just think about it, it just really amazes me. Each one of them people is playing with 4 strings and 4 fingers on all of those strings and doing all that stuff. It's like I told you about when Barton Manoogian played the Bach unaccompanied sonata and played the fugue, the second movement.
Mm-hmm.
Truly the most breathless and amazing fugue playing I've ever heard. I mean, every part was
Violin.
clear and perfect. And it was on a little box with some strings on it, 4 strings and 4 fingers to make all 3 of those voices happen. I just think that's nothing short of a miracle. And then you get 4 players. You know, you have to form a unity together as an ensemble and a feeling. I know there's a tremendous amount of intuition that they get used to each other and they experience certain things. And what they do is based upon what everybody else does, the way they play. And as I said in the previous show and at other times, one of my mentors was Norman Paolo, who for 29 years, I think it was the first violinist of the Pro Arte Quartet.
There's an interview with John Harbison on this one.
That's cool. You know, I was in Madison when he received maybe his first MacArthur Fellowship. That's $100,000 at the time, just to do your work. Yeah.
He got it.
He got the MacArthur. I was in Madison doing my grad degree, my master's degree when he was there. And I don't remember if he was based up there or I don't remember now if he happened to be there. But he was around Madison at the time when he got the award. So there's really cool stuff in there. And the other things that I have outlined, some things that they've done, they recorded the late Beethoven quartets. And as I told you previously too, it took me some years, I think, in maturity, to get to the point where I could listen to the Beethoven light quartets and really grasp them. I mean, really, not just be moved emotionally or something by wonderful playing, but to really get the whole picture of looking over the whole forest, and kind of being able to really understand it and get it. I mean, that's how that's how advanced Beethoven was. He died in 1827, for God's sake. It took me a while in my life to get to where I could follow, really appreciate how it was. So I've got various people playing, and I'd love to hear these people play Beethoven, what they would do with it, because they're clearly an amazing ensemble. I know I've jabbered about them for like the last two shows.
Last two shows.
But I can't speak about them. If you look up their webpage, they have a new woman who's now the new first violinist, I believe. Trained at Curtis, had a big West Coast life in San Francisco with a lot of mixed techniques and mixed repertoire. I mean, Kronos Quartet and beyond kind of experiences.
Sure.
And bringing that to them, because most of their recording legacy and a lot of their stuff is available on their webpage, I think. You can order from them directly. Really serious contemporary live composers. And what I always do when I look at things, sometimes I'll read the reviews that they put up by people about the composer's work, or I look for very favorable reviews in Amazon of the recordings when people write things. Because, there's some serious audio files out there.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes they actually persuade me, don't get it, get it. Based upon, what I read from people. And Ives was an interesting, enthusiastic discovery for me recently. I'd known his stuff before. And I told you a while back when we brought him up. I was a good student, paid lip service to him. Oh yeah, I was really great. So I just love the chaos, the Third Symphony, and all the bands marching together and all that. It's a giant forward thing. No, it's only recently that I started to listen to this stuff, and the wackadoo stuff. I mean, the out there stuff, which Baryshnikov recorded with the orchestra.
Yeah, he did.
Masterful control of what's going on. It may sound like chaos, but if it is, it's totally controlled.
Yeah.
And then the kind of musicians that can bring it off have to be
top notch.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then if they're not passionate about themselves, they have to be impassioned because of the passion of the director, like Prince.
Yeah.
Now, I know famously this story, there's a great John Cage retrospective concert, which is actually, I've got the whole box set where they recorded a whole bunch of these harpsichord, concerto, the piano concerto, some other stuff with the orchestra and stuff, and there was a piece that they did which included amplification on the strings, and a bunch of the players were taking the mics off of their instruments, putting them on the floor, stepping on them.
No, really?
They were so vehemently opposed to some of the music they were playing. But, I mean, if, let's say it's definitely acquired taste. I know how much shut up after this. Ives is not simple to listen to, but I guess I'm at a point where I can hear clearly what's going on, and if it's played by great musicians. What's important, I think, in that kind of music is clearing the water as much as possible. It can't be any muddiness.
Yeah.
It has to be super, super clear so you can, like some of these wonderful places around the world where you can look down in the sea, and you can see for many feet down perfectly clearly to the bottom. In Cyprus, there were places like that. You could just look down, like more than I was tall, 8 to 10 feet down, you could see everything in the bottom when the sunlight was shining in the water. If they play like that, you can learn something from the music. And I have to say, I would have never thought this before in my life, but I think of Charles Ives as part of the romantic tradition. He's a romanticist. The way that he writes. Now, I mean, Schoenberg was a romanticist. If you listen to his late stuff, before he got to atonality,
Right.
it's just inevitable that the chromaticism is going to fall apart at some point. And that's where Schoenberg felt that he was.
Yeah.
And I don't know that, I don't think that Ives approached it that way. His father was also already teaching him to write willfully
Yeah.
wild stuff and try to put it together. And then he was doing that in school and stuff, and then continued through his whole life. He was seriously opposed to concordant music.
Yeah.
It was not his thing. I'm very curious. There's a record that I want to order. It's still a little too pricey, but I'll get it. Maybe wait on a little bit. Ives, it's at least 2 CDs. Him play his piano music.
Wow.
I think that would be very
That's
exciting.
very
Because the boy was a very talented organist and keyboardist.
That's right.
He's a really fine musician. So I'd be interested in hearing how he does some of his stuff. But there's another one I put down is Marc Elmer playing the Concord
Sonata. Yeah.
So, but
Interesting.
and then the way that people play, like the way the Lydian String Quartet played both the first and the second quartet, which is really getting out there into Ives land.
Yeah.
And then the way the soloists played in the New York Philharmonic with Bernstein. It's so impassioned and it's beautiful. And the way they play, beautifully. You know? And Ellsworth taught me something, because Ellsworth was my pianist between my master's and my doctorate. I definitely shut up after this.
Okay.
Ellsworth also introduced me to a certain extent to the field of aesthetics, which is basically the philosophy of beauty in art.
Yeah.
And there's traditional aesthetics, and there, as things move along, it's still consideration of aesthetics about the beauty of something. And one of the things that Ellsworth told me and taught me, he hated it, and Cage didn't like it either, when people would kind of willfully play his compositions and do things. And Ellsworth felt that all music that's truly worthy of being valued and represented by performers and recreated, be offered, has an innate aesthetic, or either has as part of its whole birth process as a composition, and then we need to honor that as performers to keep it in an envelope of aesthetic beauty. So, and he was famous for some serious avant-garde stuff. His career was built on mostly contemporary avant-garde, and he played Schubert a lot. Interesting. That was his thing. Very beautiful Schubert.
Looks like you picked it up. It's contagious.
Well, the singing quality, perhaps, but he did a retrospective performance when Cage came to Madison for a week-long Cage celebration.
Yeah.
And Ellsworth did the first 2 piano pieces, I don't know if they call them etudes or piano pieces, that he wrote with Arnold Schoenberg in California. And then went through the whole history of his stuff, including the bird whistle and the water music, it's called. Okay. I think he did the Hamburg radio one. I can't remember all the titles on top of my head. But he finished with 1/5, which is one of these kind of pieces where there's a single notation, a particular articulation, particular dynamic, and changes things. The most impressive of all of the pieces, there's the Aurora Australis and the Aurora Borealis for piano. Those are quite impressive. But the Freeman Etudes, and I've got a recording of the violinist who really mastered those to begin with Cage coaching him in it. It's, talk about virtuosity. It's like note here, note there, different time values. Sometimes they go very fast, and the dynamics are all different. And I imagine Cage probably did that like he did the Aurora Borealis Australis by using star charts on top of composition paper and then just poking his pencil or maybe compass needle or whatever it was in different places all over the paper, and then took the map away, and those became compositional moments. And then he added layers of that in terms of articulation and dynamics and things like that, and time values as well. But my guess is he didn't control any of it. He's found a way to cause it to be.
Yeah.
But my point is that Ellsworth totally retaught me how to play, freed up my wrist, made me understand the singing aspect of it. And he just felt in the most violent moments in music, from his perspective, and this was true of anything, he applied this principle, period. No matter how violent it may become, and that just means, powerful, if we got crazy this stuff, it still must be in an envelope of aesthetic beauty. You should never cross that line. And I've come to the feeling I think that's very possible. I mean, it requires a certain kind of thinking and way to do it. For him, there were sometimes some pianists who would play, and he would just be disgusted. He said, "This is disgusting." He once said to me, he said, "I heard Rachmaninoff 3 times. Most boring pianist to watch. The most beautiful playing I've ever heard in my life." He said, "Not once did I hear an ugly sound come out of that man's hands." He didn't like Horowitz all the time. He actually thought Horowitz, in some cases, at different periods, it was an ugly sound. He didn't like it. He didn't think it was necessary. And he really got upset with people that played Schubert in some kind of overblown, violent kind of way. He said, "That's Schubert, my God, the man was a living song." So, what impressed me about the Lydian and Bernstein's performances at the Ives, I haven't had the chance to listen to the pianists yet, the music I bought, but the fact that a musician would devote themselves or commit themselves to performing that kind of music, this is really hard. This, in some cases, like with the symphonic stuff, this is like Beethoven's Hammerklavier for a pianist. I'm never going to play that in public. To be honest, I've never been drawn to play the whole thing through. It's just gargantuanly more. Or the big Passacaglia by Busoni. That's just a little bit too far for me. For me. And then there are those musicians who do it. And, it's like, God bless your brother or sister, I mean, when Yu Wing cuts into those Schifra. Arrangements and plays it better than Schifra, or cleaner than Schifra did. Not better, but more cleanly. Just, oh my God, the expeditious technique is incredible. But then a new pianist that comes by, I know Ellsworth would have loved Yun Chan Lin. He would have just wet his pants over, because the guy has that super refined, it's such a depth of possibilities in terms of the tone and the articulations and everything. So we played that Wigmore concert with John Dollar. Anyway, that's what I love about music making at this point in my life, and that's what I've become persuaded by. I remember one time when I played the ballad, one of the first times, with Ellsworth.
The Liszt ballad?
The Liszt ballad, B minor. And I tried it out at the church last time before we were going to do a concert. And then that became a piece I played for like 10 years anyway, for a while. I kind of put it away for a while. But I'm thinking about digging it up again because people haven't heard me play it live in a few years. But the first time, this is Ellsworth I loved about him. As he loved me, I loved him.
Yeah.
He was a great friend and teacher. Really great teacher. He can be a son of a bitch sometimes. After I was done, he was sitting about halfway back in the church. He didn't say anything at first. I got up. I was drenched. And he had this kind of beatific look on his face. He looked at me. He said, well, and he often called me dear one. He said, well, dear one. It was very vulgar. He shook his head and goes, it was very vulgar. But the audience is going to love it.
So, folks, you know the MO. Like and subscribe.
Thumbs up, guys.
All right, like and subscribe. We're going to need all the help we can get, especially during these hard times. But we do it joyfully and with a smile on our face, and it's our gift to you.
We'll be there scratching the bottom of that iceberg anytime for
Absolutely. So, this is Mark.
you. And this is Elmer.
We are
PSI. If you haven't seen Investigations, say bye, guys. Bye-bye.